Testing. You got me, Dan?
I think so.
All right,
I can hear you.
all right.
Tim.
So why would it?
Each one's a year,
Oh,
so that's 19, 20, 21, and the beginning of 22. And you have it digitally too, Carol, so I just printed it,
digital,
that's why I
it
didn't.
crashes my Excel.
I don't know what's wrong, I didn't want to put it in the agenda, because then I figured out where it was going, but I can't see this. Because it would be like this thing. David, saw your interesting proposals.
Yeah, I sure.
Before we go on record, you may want to ask what the not responsive to that, so. It was $100,000 less.
Really?
I know he didn't give us anything. So, I can't, without being challenged by the other two, I can't.
Well, we've got to reach out.
Yeah, Angel. Did you have a recorder to plug in?
Yeah. For the road, he did do a formal RFP for that. You didn't do a formal one?
What do you think? We
We
can
expected
see,
under one process.
195?
well, if the engine S was 150, we can over 195.
Which one's over?
So I don't know, Tim will have to say that, how they do that.
Gone in a little bit.
Yeah. I think initially the front is going to be under
Yeah.
threshold, yeah. Is Mike on too?
Haven't seen it, no.
Okay.
Wait, we're going backwards.
That's a good question. And everybody was late tonight.
Oh, jinx it.
Jinx what?
Nobody in here.
I sit there,
Oh,
like,
sorry.
nobody's here.
Seems like everybody's late today. Oh, yeah, right? I'm having a grand opening at the ranch on Saturday night.
Oh.
Exactly the hours when the percentages of rain probability are the very highest.
Swallow's Louisiana got really rough last night,
Yeah.
so.
I heard
9 o'clock, 10
Alabama
o'clock.
got 10 inches of rain.
When I checked in, the lady at the front desk says, and we gave you a top floor suite.
Oh, just in case.
I said, oh, it might get a little wild and woolly up there with the wind, huh? She says, yeah, but at least you'll be away from the flood.
Yes, because it does flood in the parking garages right there.
That's what she told me, but at least you'll be away from the flood.
We have the estates contingent.
Great.
Good. 'Cause I think we've got a-
Well represented.
All right.
Not compliments? It's not compliments?
That too. I think you're looking lovely tonight.
Thank you.
It's a good start, isn't
That's right. Puts us in the right.
it? Yeah.
Keep going.
No, I talked to
Butter
the-
is that side,
You get-
not that
yeah.
side. A little bit of butter will just keep. Wait a minute.
Yeah, if you just go in there, it's wicked.
Before we get started, and I call in your phones and.
Is that somebody's friend back there?
For her.
So Jason Baker is joining us any second.
I
I am racing over. Is he
got
stuck
caught
in
up
the-
in a meeting.
All righty, I want to, this is Teresa Kramer, Chair for the Harmony CDE. And this is March 31st, 2022. At this point, it's 6 PM. I'll call our meeting to order. And we'll do a quick roll call. Mike Scarborough. Okay, not hearing him on Zoom. He's not present in the meeting tonight. Supervisor Castle. Present. Supervisor Leet,
Here.
Supervisor Berube,
Here.
and Teresa Kramer is also here. At this point, we are going into our next order of business, which is audience comments. This is a time where people from the audience, public and residents here in Harmony have a maximum of 3 minutes to present any item, does not have to be on the agenda, any item that they wish to bring before the board. It's your turn to speak. It's we request that the supervisors not get in a back and forth with you, but you have 3 minutes to present any item that you want to speak about. Is there anyone here who would like to speak before the board?
Just, we're just discussion about the flooding back
Okay.
in the estates, but I think that's gonna be addressed by your,
We have that on the agenda, so.
Yep. that's all I need to hear.
Okay. Anyone else interested in speaking before the board? And if you'll give your name and address for I know you didn't do formal
No,
comments.
that's Paul Gable, 7138 Oak Glen Trail.
Thank you. That way we have it for our minutes. And also on that same thing, I'd like to advise the board that we've been having trouble with trying to get the minutes down and the proper names attached to the speakers. So I would speak, if you'll just say your name, and then we'll kind of do an informal type recognition, and then you can go ahead and speak. But we've had a lot of speaking over each other, and it's been very difficult to keep your verbatim. So we'll go with that. Any other, we had one addition to our audience. Any comments that you'd like to present before the board tonight? If you didn't, for instance.
I just got here, not at this time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Scott.
If you'll come up, we have our own order.
I'm pretty loud, you can hear me.
Yeah, name and address. for the-
My name is Scott Mitchell, 7191 Oak Glen Trail in the Estates section of Harmony. While we're here tonight to obviously talk about the flooding in the estates, but also we thought this would be an opportunity to talk about some of the maintenance issues that aren't being done, like some of that grass back there hasn't been mowed in weeks. There's a lot of things like that are just being neglected. It seems because the estates are in the back of the neighborhood, we are sometimes forgotten or neglected.
I'd just like to ask a question, just very
It's
briefly.
Carol Castle.
Sorry, Supervisor Castle, you want me to do that too? No? Oh, like every time I speak or just the first time? Oh, my goodness.
Just,
The mowing, is that on the lots or where is it?
The
that-
CDD property, not, the lots used to be that way, but we got that pretty much cleared up,
Okay.
going directly to the guy who owns those. And,
Okay, so, yeah, it'd be great if you notify us when things are getting along so we can make
Okay.
sure our landscaper is addressing it.
Yeah, and then that same thing, like, we used to have flower beds at the entrance and things like that, all grown over now, and limbs have fallen, they lay there for weeks, months on time without ever being picked up, and so sometimes it just feels like, being in the back of the neighborhood, we just kind of, are forgotten and overlooked when it comes to that stuff.
I can tell you that when I go to the dog park, I have similar issues, and the dog parks are right in the middle of everything. And so it's just, I think there's been a transition, and that's.
Well, one good example was when you guys did mulching in the neighborhoods last year, nobody mulched the estates area. That was just totally forgotten, so.
all right, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. Any other audience comments on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the audience comments section of our meeting and move on to the third order of business, which is our contractor report with Cervello about landscaping. So Getting for us here today. If you'll step up to the microphone.
Sorry. The crew, as y'all know, have been fighting the leaves for the past 3 weeks. They put them behind a little bit. They're starting their details and cleaning and cutting back the tall landscape. They'll be here hopefully tomorrow if it doesn't rain. I've been working with the crew on the spraying to get the weeds that have popped up back down. So it's taken us a little bit. Next week is our mow week because we're still in the every other week stage. till April 15th, I believe. I have to check. So we have about 1 more week of straight on and off mowing, and then from there on, straight mowing. Okay.
Okay.
Irrigation,
Any other comment on general landscaping? Mr. Bettencourt, you've heard some of the comments, so if you could make sure you swing that through the estates and.
Yeah.
Get them. to-
that's on our, if they don't run behind, that's on a Tuesday. That's with Five Oaks, Capri, Oakland,
Oakland. right?
and then all the way into the Southern Pine and all the way back there.
Yes. Super. Angel Montana, when you say if they don't get behind in the estates a weekend, what does that mean?
Rain,
Okay,
you know,
but they're on your normal schedule.
yes, they're always on a normal mow schedule.
Have any proposals been submitted for the flower beds or the beds he's talking about that are dead and thrown over?
The only bed that's at the estates is Blue Days and Society Garlic. There's no flowers there.
Okay.
Well, Society Garlic does have flowers, but.
Yeah, but annuals, you know, type flowers.
Steve Berube, I have 2 concerns. First is, for the last 3 months, we've been hearing you devote significant time to leaves. I don't believe, and I appreciate the fact that you're out there picking up the leaves, because they make a mess, especially in some specific areas. But I don't think that's a contracted item, and we're getting plenty of concerns about the landscape in other places. And you're devoting significant labor to picking up the leaves. But there's plenty of other problems. And again, I appreciate the fact that you're out there picking up the leaves, but I'd rather have the stuff that we need fixed. Resident complaints, the weeds that are popping up. Scotty offered last month to put some sod down along Capri and various other areas. And I don't want to sound like I'm twisting things around, but the rest of the landscape should look good before the leaves get picked up. Because the leaf pickup only affects a certain few residents and not all of them. You can't possibly pick up all the leaves throughout the whole property. So we're favoring some, and that's
Okay,
not right.
Let me interject, Teresa Kramer here. I wanted to check, is it in the contract? Is it?
There is not a leaf removal, especially along streets. It does talk about bed cleanliness, but not leaf removal.
So if leaf removal is something we need to include it in the next contract or have a secondary contractor come in and do it.
Yes, on some sort of regular basis where manpower can be allocated, where manpower doesn't take away from other
That's
projects.
okay.
Yeah, you get it. Second concern is several times now, and I'm going to look at our district manager and our area manager. I've asked about the reports that get generated by you folks at least every month. Many of those pictures and concerns go to Cervello. Many things carry from month to month to month. In the past, you've kind of commented that you don't get much of a response from Cervello to those reports. Is that still ongoing? He's off the chair.
Brett Perez, Area Field Director. So this past month, we were delayed in getting a report out to Cervello. So this month's agenda will not have responses from Cervello in it, which is on myself.
Okay.
Okay. The past few months, the reports have been sent off and we have not been getting responses back, which should be coming. Okay. You know. what
I'll
we're talking
check
about.
on the last report I got, because I know I haven't, I have noticed, it seems strange, I haven't received the field reports, but I'll check my last field report that I got, and I'll let you know.
Because my concern is, those are important, because these folks are all taking time to document what they see as deficiencies. And if you're not getting it, well, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. If you are getting the reports and you're not addressing it, well, that's a different problem that needs to be addressed. I'm sure you understand why. I mean, if those reports are getting to you and you're not doing anything about it, which has been the issue in the past several times. When we come up on an RFP, if you're part of the RFP, for me, because of your lack of response, I'm not going with Sabella because we can't have that continue. So you two need to work it out to make sure that you're getting what he's showing us. And please try to respond so we don't have this ongoing issue.
Again,
I get it.
I'll check the emails.
Uh,
So,
My email is goofy too sometimes, so I
Yeah,
understand
that's fine.
that. Got it.
Did you want to report on your vacation?
nightmare. 1, 2, 3. 3 stuck valves in a week. Jason will be here tomorrow. Hopefully we could get the valves changed out. Clock number 8, we all know the gazebo clock, bad transformer. So hopefully he'll bring one with him. So we could,
So you'll hopefully have those stuck valves. Are they stuck open and causing us high water bills? I think
like
was
one
Ashley Park.
Ashley Park, yeah. I came out Saturday, turned it off, located the valve. So there's not gonna be a charge for that.
Okay.
So, the other 2 was the one Vincent called me on, Sedges, that a resident complained it was running for 3 or 4 days.
Mhm.
That wasn't true.
Okay.
I drove by that particular park
Mhm.
Monday, 2:30, 3 o'clock. The irrigation was not running. What happened? Probably, which is likely, it came on, got stuck Tuesday morning, and just kept running.
Mhm.
Located the valve, shut the water off, same thing.
So you're gonna be handling those. The water bill was extremely high this past month. That was what?
February.
January 17th, February 18th. Did you have a lot of, have you found the problems that are causing these very high levels?
Other than just a visible leak. I don't know, if the meter is leaking, there's a leak somewhere on the main line,
Mhm.
but until it surfaces,
Okay.
I can't.
What, I've spoken to Toho, we have an agreement, they're willing to do a portion of our meters and give you weekly readings and weekly reports that show daily water use. So hopefully we can start identifying these leaks before they get to be huge water bills. Okay. Now, this is not something new. We've had huge water bills in the past. I think you started in April of 2021. 2021, we didn't have any that were, right around $20,000 for the month. But before that, we 1 or 2 that are that high. What I'm hoping with you guys running it is that we don't see any more that are out of this world like that. So.
Well, you have a problem. And the problem is that, from what we understood
This
last
is
month,
Mr. Burby.
Mr. Burley, the weather station for the Maxicom is not working.
They're
As I
going
understand
to
it.
address that, is what I understand is that they're
Correct, yeah.
working. and they're-
Everything goes to Kurt,
Mhm.
as far as irrigation, that he
Right.
lets
They-
me know, hey, meter so-and-so
Mhm.
is marking high water, go check it out. So I get there, what I normally do, I shut the clock off where it won't run at all. Sure. Let it go, maybe over the weekend, maybe it's a Friday, I'll let it go over the weekend, come back, snap another picture.
See how much has gone out of the system.
If it's different, then obviously there's a leak somewhere.
Right.
Like 7,500 that you,
That we discussed last week.
until I see a visible leak
Mhm.
come up, I can't detect it.
So we'll stay on that. We may at some point want to look again at some sort of water use monitoring. Even if it's a high price, it may be worth it if we're spending, an extra 10,000 a month. That pays for additional monitoring. Okay, any other questions about the irrigation issues?
Yep, Dan Lee just had one more note. We had, last night coming home, actually, I saw, might have been the night before, had a gusher on Dark Sky close to Five Oaks, right where that alley meets up. So on the right side of the road as you're going out towards the conservation area.
On the milkweed,
No, across from Milkweed, so going down Dark Sky.
oh, on the dark skies.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that tomorrow.
We, these guys have been at it for a year, Supervisor Baru. If she doesn't recognize me by now, she never will. We started with this plan a year or so ago to have Cervello manage the entire water management and repair and all of that stuff. And on a rolling 12-month period, we've now spent more money with Cervello between, we got $21,000 in water this month, $3,200 in labor and parts to repair breaks. On a rolling 12-month period, we're now spending more money having them manage it than we would have spent had we had a field services guy on site all the time managing this.
Okay, Supervisor
Doesn't make sense.
Kramer. You must remember too, that when you add the water and the amount for repairs, that includes everything. If you look back at those two numbers when we were in field services, what that didn't include was the labor cost of 1.5 times a full-time position to do irrigation.
But you're paying these guys $26,400 plus a year for that management of water. So when you look at $43,000 a year for full-time field services guy, you're exceeding it now with the basic $26,400
Run the
plus the
numbers
labor cost.
to
Go ahead.
evaluate that again.
I already have. I'm telling you, it's
But this
above.
is the situation.
We have never,
Excuse
ever
me.
been able, no, don't excuse me, don't fluff it off because you don't like what I'm
No.
saying.
What I.
We have never, ever, ever been able to have a landscaper manage the water and have it work. It just doesn't work. They're gonna run the water all the time. It's the way it is. I'm done.
Again,
You can tell me whatever you want to tell me.
our water bills have been much higher. We've had consistently 2 times a year water bills at or above $20,000 in previous years under field services management.
You got one.
Here's where we are now. Yes, we've got 1 in 16 months of them.
Add them all up.
So,
You got the spreadsheet. Add them up. I have.
the last thing, and again, I think it showed up under field services, so Mr. Perez, you might want to address this too. But I think this is a Cervello item that goes with it, and this is the proposal for the artificial turf. I thought while Cervello rep was here, would this be a good?
Where is it?
Did everybody get the additional ones that were sent to you? I sent them all in one email.
I only got the one from Top Turf.
They were all top
They
turf,
all-
but there's 3
they're all
different
top tier.
proposals.
There's 3 different.
I
Yeah,
have
but
them.
there was only 2 write-ups. The one that was the St.
Spec sheet.
Augustine one, yeah, spec sheets, the St. Augustine one was missing.
Yeah, this
Haven't seen.
Brett Perez. The spec sheets for the St. Augustine were not, I don't know if the link they sent over, the attachment they sent over was 2 of the same Pro Turf. They were these 2, there were 2 of these are the same. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, which is, it's not, the difference is one's gonna have a St. Augustine leaf blade, shaped leaf blade versus, the leaf blade that you're seeing on the other spec sheets. But there were 3 proposals sent over.
This is for Buckley.
This is for Buck Lane Park. And again, the cheaper proposal of the 3 is $18,776.16. And it's just a different grade artificial turf. Okay. Then the other 2 are their higher grade, they're pro synthetics is what they call them, pro 60s. And one of them has a leaf blade, more like probably a fescue or bluegrass, where it's a little thinner, which you would normally see a product on football fields and athletic fields. And the other one, which they didn't provide a spec sheet for, is what they call St. Augustine. So my understanding of that would be it's a wider leaf blade. You don't have the samples with you, do you, Vincent? They're in the truck? On the trailer? Okay.
So what were the other 2 prices?
So the The Sin Pro 60, which is more of the fescue feel, is 20,826.16. And the St. Augustine is 24,952.23. And all the specs are the same. It's the same square footage, 2,843 square feet.
How tall is the blade? Are they all the same height?
The height is on the Pro Turf is 1.5 inches. On the cheaper proposal, the top DG 58, it's a 1-inch leaf blade. And I do not have the spec sheet for the St. Augustine, but I would be willing to guess it's probably around the 1.5.
And this is to cover all of the area that is currently sod and those ginger plants, is that?
I'll defer to Pete. I wasn't able to make that meeting. Pete, was that covering that open St. Augustine space?
Basically, it's what was there at one time, leaving the bed for the plants.
But there's nothing growing in that bed now.
Well, yeah, it's been trampled, but what he's saying is the beds would stay, and then where the St. Augustine grass is in between the beds currently would be replaced with the synthetic turf. There's 2,800 square feet of it.
But why would we leave the beds if they're,
It was just a discussion. We can absolutely include the beds. It's just gonna increase your square footage.
Well,
yeah,
if
but it's
we-
just dirt.
If we increase it with square footage of turf, if we don't do that, then we gotta increase it with square footage of plants of some sort, which
We'll get
we
trampled.
already know where that goes.
Mhm.
Unless you put holly in there or something, but it's a bunch of kids playing, so. I think from the look aspect of it, a nice square green, all green area would look good, and for the aspect that it's surrounded by St. Augustine.
I don't think you're gonna notice it. You're saying you think you should go with the synthetic that looks like the St. Augustine, so it matches what's surrounding it. I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference, or people are gonna really even notice it. They're gonna see, it's gonna be a different color anyways. It's gonna have a different shade.
So there's a money difference between 18,000 and 20,000. Is it reasonable to suggest that that's for durability, or do we know?
Well,
Yeah,
according to
I'm-
the spec sheets, the backing is different. The warranty is different. The cheaper one has a 15-year warranty. The more expensive, the $20,000 one has a lifetime warranty. Again, the backing is different. There is, sorry, that wasn't my belly.
Drainage and all of them.
The weights are a little bit different,
Yeah, because the backing is thicker.
and then the height of the turf is different, and then the coloring is, again, I don't know if that matters too much. The yarn color is field green / apple versus olive green and
Yeah.
field green mixture. So there's, the cheaper one obviously is probably more, I would say homeowner grade,
Yeah, we're
You
into
know,
commercial stuff.
but with the wear and tear you have, you probably want to go with something that's got a lifetime warranty. So that way you're.
Limited lifetime warranty. I'd like to know.
Yeah, probably very limited.
It's the spec sheet. I have the prices. It's the spec sheet. that I'm using.
And it is 1.5 inches.
Right. It's a little bit denser.
I'd be in favor of the middle one, the $20,000 one, but to be sure that we cover all of the current,
So no plants
no plants in the center,
and just,
perfect.
Now,
I could call him up and he could come back and measure it.
so we do have some ginger plants still there,
Struggling.
not sure how. They are surviving. So we would remove all that and just.
Yeah, because you see how those kids play, you're over there, and
Oh,
they're rugged and they're rough, and they throw the ball around and they play kickball. Whatever plants we put in there, you can tell the kids to stay out, but it's not gonna happen. So if you're gonna put, and I think the aesthetic of it, just a nice square green, everything looks the same, you don't have to monkey with trimming the plants, whatever you put in. And then you're gonna have to clean this stuff every once in a while, get in the pressure washer and blow it off, right? It's clean. That's my favorite, make it a nice square green field, simple.
What's the price differential between so we've got 24, 18,
So I
and
can give-
20.
Yeah. So
Think
per
you put-
square foot, the rate for the cheapest is $6.60 a square. The mid-grade is $7.33 a square, and the high grade is $8.78 a square.
I don't want to put this off, but I'm sorry, this is Supervisor Castle. I don't want to put it off, but at the same time, I'd like to know more about the Sin Augustine X47 before we say we're not going to do it because it's more expensive, because I wonder if it's got better look, better wear and tear, better warranty, etc. So I hesitate to approve something when I haven't seen this, the
Okay.
sheet for the
They're
highest.
gonna get the samples. And that helps.
Well, it might help, but it's not going to tell me what the warranty is. It's not going to
Well,
tell
The
me.
warranty is 15 years limited.
Is the backing the
life.
same between the mid one and the top one?
It's the same warranty.
No, the backing.
I don't know that answer. 'cause
It's not on the spec sheet?
I didn't get a spec sheet from.
Oh.
St.
That's what
Augustine.
I'm saying. There's no spec sheet, so I'm hesitant to.
Because it's like carpet, you know, your money in carpet is on the backing of it and how stiff it is and.
The
Okay.
bagging's the same. It's the weight that it does and the drainage it does.
So whatever numbers you
So
got, that
can
you're gonna
we
increase by
postpone
25%.
Table it till maybe a little
For
later.
that area.
or-
What we'll do, anything else you'd like to provide on this issue, and we'll table the actual decision and more discussion until we get to the field services report. For making a final decision, and we'll let you.
Yeah, you could ask Vincent. He was there with me also.
Okay, great.
Right.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, Okay, at this point in time, that's all for the contractors report. We'll go on to our fourth agenda item, the consent agenda, which includes approval of our February monthly meeting minutes, our financial statements for February 28, 2022, approval of number 263 invoices and check register. Any
Yes, so I apologize. I reviewed the minutes last weekend and I forgot to send the revisions out, but they should be in your inbox right now as we speak.
And that's Supervisor Castle.
I'm sorry, Supervisor.
Being
Castle.
noted by Supervisor Berube as Supervisor Castle. Keeping it straight.
Please don't give us more to write.
Right?
All right, and I did find one additional item, page 8, line 228, road should be go. Now, we have other amendments. So Supervisor Castle's amendments and that one amendment. Anyone else have any amendments to the minutes?
I move to approve as amended. Supervisor Lee?
That would be the whole consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Lee, second by Supervisor Berube to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. All right, number 5 are our staff reports. We're starting with our district engineers report. Dave Hamster.
Also known as Mr. Money. Oh, yes.
No comments.
I know he gets embarrassed about the money. all the time.
Do you want to sit here? Because then you can face the camera. instead
Yeah,
of
I'm gonna be
facing us.
pointing to an exhibits when we get to the estates. I'll probably stand up and
Nice noise, David. Thank you.
for the record, David Hamster, district engineer. Even though I have 13 items in the report, we're only going to discuss 5 this evening since you have a full agenda. First one is Garden Road. The bids were submitted today. We gave them an extension because there were some good questions from the contractors regarding potential closure of Garden Road to expedite the construction and hopefully lower the costs. I did receive 3 bids out of 5 from the contractors. A summary sheet from that was tabulated this morning.
Do you want one for Angel? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So when we develop our engineer's estimates, we actually use one of this, I won't name the company, we use one of their projects that are currently under construction in Volusia County for the cost of the recycled concrete, which is the biggest ticket item. In the 6 to 9 short months, it's already increased 50% on the streets. For those who can doing construction, it's just been outrageous how quickly things are going up with fuel, hauling, trucking, labor. But we thought we were good on our estimate because we use something that's actually under construction now, and it's already, when you look at the comparison, we assume $40 per square yard, and the low bids come in at $68 and $63 per square yard, hence the $100,000 difference. We did have a lower price, but they were non-responsive, meaning this is the proposal package they're supposed to submit with bid bonds, references, insurance, and all the things that are required for a public bid. They did not submit all that information. So I put them as non-responsive even though they were significantly lower in price. Because if I do recommend them for approval, you're welcome or subject to a challenge by those who do submit a responsive bid. The other reason we did do a public advertisement, because the engineer's estimate, which was based on real numbers, was below the 196 number. And therefore we did the solicitation based on 5 qualified contractors that we've used over the years.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Burley for the record. Since the concrete fines are so expensive, I think you engineered this at a 14-inch thickness of concrete fines, correct?
Correct.
Is there the possibility of substituting a less expensive material as a base and then coating that less expensive material? Because you're going to roll all of this anyway, right? Sand, or, you know, there's a special kind of sand that they usually use for road base. Is that a viable alternative to taking some of the thickness out, seeing the concrete fines are so expensive?
I'd have to revisit the county. I think the county will allow a thinner aggregate thickness. So based on what the bids came in, I will circle back with the county and see if they're willing to go from 18 inches thick to maybe 12 inches and see if we can get the price negotiated by the low bidder down. And whether we bring this back to the next board meeting or whatever the direction the board wants as far as tabling this, moving forward with it, asking the county for thinner thickness of concrete.
Okay.
I wouldn't re-advertise because the costs will continue to escalate. So,
Supervisor Castle.
Yeah, Supervisor Castle and I just, so we were below with your probable construction cost estimate, but the bids came in above. Does that mean we need to go to public bid? I mean, we need to,
It's if you will pay over 195,
Right. We would
not
have
what
to-
you propose it at.
Right.
What it will ultimately cost.
right, so,
That's our legal counsel.
right, that was our legal counsel, Mr. Qualls.
Can I
Yes,
ask a
Angel,
question? What?
this is Angel Montag.
If you anticipate paying over 195, you have to go to public bid.
No, it's what will be paid.
Right.
It hinges on if you're gonna pay 195 or more. You have to go out and use the state procurement process.
Right, and then so in this case,
We would have to.
we would have to do that.
Well, unless the county will
acquiesce,
approve,
Hamstra. If the county acquiesces to a 12-inch thick rock instead of 18 inches, and Gregory is acceptable to lower their amount accordingly, we will be below the 195.
However, isn't there a substitution for some other base material? Because I think you,
Supervisor Berube
Supervisor
speaking.
Berube, I think you had anticipated scraping off what's there and then making basically a channel, right? And then pouring in the aggregate and raising it back up to whatever grade you wanted. So if we're gonna take it down 18 inches or whatever the depth is, and you're gonna take the aggregate down down to 12 inches, then we need some of the base under that to get back to grade. I mean,
I believe we had a bedding stone, so we don't have to excavate it as much. So there's
Okay.
less excavation, less product. And I'm pretty confident the county will go with a thinner material, thinner thickness of the rock. And so I'm confident we get below the 185. So if you allow me, I can talk to Gregory Construction and see that they can give me a revised bid based on that as soon as I get the blessing from the county.
So this is Carol Castle, I move to table this decision until we hear back from Mr. Hamster.
Seconded. Supervisor Burrow, seconded.
Supervisor Castle made the motion to table this until our next regularly scheduled meeting in April. Seconded by Supervisor Berube. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion carries.
Second topic, the estates. We have a lot of moving parts in that one. Just read this post and get it up. Thank you very much. So as you're aware, we had approved, or the board had approved Atlantic Pipe Services to clean and CCTV, which is camera inspect the pipes that are outside the public right of way. Those are the pipes and inlets behind everybody's houses or between their houses. They went out there, they completed 10 of the 12 inlets and 10 of the 12 pipes. We got the videotapes and inspection reports. I'll just cut to the chase. They're in horrific condition. The contractor did the work. There's joints that are broke, concrete pipes are broke. Every pipe connected to the inlet is leaking like crazy. It was a very poor installation. Sometimes the ones are almost complete replacements. Some can probably be salvaged.
Did we know about this, Supervisor Burrow? Did we know about this prior to the completion of the work, or we got reports of all this after the fact?
How this started a while ago is I met with Mr. Gable. He was coming back from his daughter's golf tournament, and he was out there pumping his yard and wondering why the water wasn't going down. So when things did recede, I took the construction plans and I tried to find the 12 inlets. I want to say half of them, I couldn't visually see them because it was under 1 or 2 feet of dirt. So they were never maintained, maybe even know they existed. So after they were cleaned and located by Infomark at the time, we then hired Atlantic Pipe Services to go out there and pull the grades and do the camera work. It wasn't then until we saw the camera and we videoed or looked at the camera work for every pipe, as where we just see tremendous amount of groundwater flowing into the pipe, taking the soils with it, and almost every joint up to every inlet is in horrible condition as well. They couldn't get to 2 of them. Those are the 2 behind Mr. Gable's house because they were underwater and had a tree growing into it, which then some of the guys removed the tree and but couldn't do the camera work because they're still underwater after the recent rains we had. We then reached out to Osceola County Road and Bridge and told them, I think your lines and your street potentially are clogged because water should not be in the street. Your street is high enough. Mr. Jeff Hyman was extremely responsive. Before I even met him yesterday, he had his crews clean maybe 2/3 of the pipe between Mr. Gable's house and to the pond. They were going backwards looking for blockage. So as of yesterday at 3:30, they had 2 more runs to do to complete that run of pipe to the pond. They did find where the houses are under construction, looks like remnants of concrete chunks. I can't blame the contractor if they're washing their equipment at the end of the day in the inlet, if that's causing it, but there was an excessive amount of concrete chunks in the pipes, which is the county had removed. So Jeff is on vacation. His other supervisor is supposed to call me to let me know if they found anything else between Mr. Gable's house and the pond. And hopefully they're not doing camera work. They're just blowing the pipes out to make sure they're not blocked. I did notice a drop in elevation behind Mr. Gable's house. The 2 houses under construction, they dropped it by about 9 to 12 inches after the county did some of the work recently. So there may have been some minimal blockage that caused it. When we went out there yesterday with the county, I know we're in their model home as a Jones, but they have horrible construction practices out there. All the cell fences were flapping in the wind. There was gaps underneath it. So we have to get on them hard about properly installing the cell fences so the dirt doesn't continue going into the inlets. After I met with Jeff, we then went to the inlet that's kind of sinking in the street. So if you go around the corner, there's like a community park with all the big trees.
Mhm.
There's an inlet and pipe that's basically going down 2 or 3 inches. It's subsiding quickly. He's going to do a temporary patch just so people are not driving over a big dip. And he will come back after his vacation, rip up the road, fix the pipe and fix the roadway correctly within that particular location.
Clarification on the county work, Supervisor Berube. Are they just doing the storm drains, or are they getting into our drainage pipes as well, what the county's doing?
Where ours interface with theirs,
Yes,
right where that inlet was holding waters, where they found all the chunks of concrete. So
okay,
they took that out. It was arguable if it was in their system or ours, but at the two where they meet, they took it out. And that's when we saw the drop in water level behind the house under construction. He also has noticed poor construction within the pipes, but mostly poor construction by the contractor building the houses. And we were out there and we saw it firsthand. And I need to find somebody with Jones Homes to make sure this gets fixed. And then when I went to Village Trail, I saw the exact same thing. There's houses after houses with no silt fences. It's maddening.
What? Yeah,
That's a separate subject. So
The
get back on
separate-
that
yeah.
slide.
but this is Teresa Kramer. The question is, what are we going to have to do about our portion of the system that's outside the public right of way? If it's in such poor condition, are we going to have to go in and rebuild it?
So now that the other 2 inlets are beginning to be visible, Atlantic Pipe Services will go back out and finish that inspection of those pipes, as well as the one.
We have it up too long.
It's a very southeast corner. They started in the street and not behind the house. And when they got to the pipe, it was diving under a water line, so they stopped. There's 150 feet of pipe they didn't do on the backside, which I told them to do that as well. So when they finish the camera work, I will have a memorandum to the board on which ones the joints have to be fixed, the inlet's got to be fixed, or what pipes themselves have to be removed and replaced.
Okay.
Give you a cost, but those are your responsibilities, unfortunately,
Right.
outside the right of way.
Any real rough ballpark numbers, since we're looking at other projects and this appears to be this is a health and safety issue, so this is a has to be done.
You're putting me on the spot, I'll say.
I'm sorry.
No. $200,000, super nuts.
yeah, I was thinking 150.
Okay,
Some of these things can be lined by Atlantic
Yes,
Pipe
they can.
Services. Where they have a dip, you can't do that. But if you have a
Yeah,
straight,
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
let them
so-
design it, so.
Yeah. David, is it safe to assume that all of this is it's all on CDD property and there's no improvements above where all these pipes are? These are all in rough woods area, correct?
Yeah, and I've talked to Brett about, once we get all this cleaned out, to put a rubble riprap or concrete around these inlets to protect them, because all the leaf droppings and debris and the contractor's debris, I can't have them keep compromising these inlets. Now, the strange thing about this design, I've done this for 35 years, the inlets behind, for example, Mr. Gable's house, when I look at the top of that grate in relationship to the pond, when that pond just goes up a little bit, it will back up and flood those 2 inlets, which doesn't flood his house, but then you have horrific mosquito problems, and you got the standing water. It brings, snakes and other undesirables. So that's the bigger issue, whether or not we have to fill these areas or what we do without impacting these nice wooded open space areas. But the streets should always remain high and dry. But when the water's in the street and we have people pumping in the street, it's coming right back at them again because the streets aren't moving. So the county admitted they probably have similar problems that we are going to experience, because now we have roadways actually collapsing. They probably have similar joint issues they're going to have to repair. And they've been, again, very responsive and cooperative so far. So I'll be back next board meeting after APS, Atlantic Pipe Services, finishes the other pipes. I'll give you a litany list or a long list of what could be done on a small scale versus replacements, and however y'all want to tackle that moving forward. But in the meantime, we have to get back to the home builder and get him to take this seriously, because not only for Billy's Trail, not only for the estates, but also the new stuff that's gonna be popping up, that's, gonna be
This is all
compromising.
Jones.
It's all Jones,
Supervisor Castle, so is that your responsibility? Is it the CDD's responsibility to have our attorney send them something? Like, how do we
I
accomplish?
think we tried nicely. I think Brett's tried, and Vince has tried nicely to talk to people. I'd rather see Tim write a strong letter to the corporation and say, enough's enough. Otherwise, I'll go to the county and turn them in for lack of compliance, so.
So what's the first, which is the first?
I'd
step?
rather, it's my opinion. I'd like to have Tim write a letter to Jones saying, y'all need to improve your erosion and sediment control practices immediately, because it's affecting
Isn't-
our infrastructure.
Teresa Kramer, but isn't it the county's duty? Shouldn't they be while they're out there? I mean, I think it's important to tell the county that they need to do their job.
I can try. Sure.
But if that's not gonna do anything, then.
We may actually have a little bit
Super-
of Angel, Montagna, a little bit of leeway now that Brett has something with the county that he just is able to get.
All right.
Perez, is that easier?
It works.
I got a random call from the county this week. They are bringing their street sweeping crews out here, which we didn't even know they had. And they are going to be sweeping the streets of Harmony. I don't have a date yet, but they're doing that at the county's cost,
Keep the leaves out of the drains.
correct? So I think some of,
Are they sweeping or vacuuming? Because sweeping doesn't do anything, unfortunately.
well, it's gonna be like sweeping it into the truck, like a
It is,
back
okay,
truck.
so
It's
they
not
don't-
truly like a, blower or back truck. It's gonna have the street, the sweeper attachment to the curb to take it
into the
off
truck, okay, good.
and pulling it into the truck. I don't have a date yet, but when I do, we have to work probably in conjunction with the HOA to get an email blast out, because they said they would like to get as many cars off the street as possible for this. I realize that it's not attainable to get them all off, but this is news that we're not really sure how it happened, because
I can tell
I
you,
asked if other districts were gonna get it as well, and I was told to keep it
I
under
can tell you
wraps.
how it happened.
Well, I think the point of it
Pressure on the
was,
county. County commissioners.
is that now if we have that, we could possibly go back because they were concerned about the drainage. So maybe if we can go back and tie this into that as well, maybe they'll do further investigation.
They do have what they call an NPDS department that's supposed to enforce this. I have no problem calling them and putting them on alert to please give them 3 or 4 locations to look into and let them do the nasty gram and what they can do. But I know they're spread thin and you guys have a ton of construction going on in Sealer County. But we can try that avenue, but I don't want to keep losing weeks and months of continued abuse of lack of erosion and sediment control.
So are we going to ask this is Supervisor Castle, are we gonna ask our attorney to send a letter, or are we just gonna have David contact this department at the county?
Second plan. Let David go to the county, because that's where it's gonna end up anyway. The county has the enforcement arm.
I don't know that a letter from our attorney is going to,
Okay.
is my experience.
The county will hold building permits if they don't comply with the erosion.
Yeah, they're-
control.
Not with that.
All right, so for next week, or next meeting with the estates, we'll have the finished CCTV inspection, a listing what's got to be done repair wise, an estimate. And then also I'll follow up on the county's repairs of the road and what they have found subsequently. I think I was led to believe they're gonna check the other pipes as well throughout the community, but the focus one with Mr. Gable's house is the worst from what I saw from standing water, so. Any questions at this point? I'll go quickly to the last 2, so.
That was the second item.
That was the estates. He's gonna skip it. He has the write-ups.
Yeah, you said we had 5.
You the homeowners, when do we get the opportunity to ask questions?
You got the opportunity before you walked in the door.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of back and forth. If you want to hang around.
There was
after the
audience
meeting.
comments at the very beginning.
Got it.
All right, neighborhood C1, C2 milling resurfacing, we got the Ganesha County, they will not require us to get their approval for the interface between our alleyways and their right of way, so they're good. So the only thing I need at this point is I'll coordinate with Tim on the advertisement, because we know that one's obviously over 195. If he's okay with the advertisement, then we'll go out to public bid between now and next meeting for soliciting bids on the C1, C2 alleyway. I did say 5, Carol, but I was gonna skip the reserve study because I think that's somebody else's on their agenda. So
It's on hold.
the last one is the RV boat and storage area. We made our official submittal to the county on March 23rd. They've already responded back. I had to sign and seal a few of them other documents that went in yesterday. So it's on their radar now to go ahead and give us hopefully the approval or maybe some minor comments to get that underway as well for the fence, the landscaping that was required. So with that,
Right, but I just wanted to touch base on that again. We originally thought it would be much lower, but fencing estimates now are coming in $130,000.
For the fence?
For the fence and the landscape county is requiring an irrigation system. I spoke with David, we worked together. The county said they would drop irrigation if we used native plant
the
drought
revised
tolerant.
number is down to 98,000, but yes,
98,000.
for what's required by them, with your input, Chairman, we were able to take some things out, and so of the 98,000, it's the fencing cost, and again, this is assuming you're buying all the fence. I don't know the relationship between what you're owed and what you're gonna get, but assuming you're doing it from scratch without what's owed to you, the fence is like 80,000 of the $98,000, is the majority of the cost. So you got 2,200 linear feet of fencing.
We have a maximum
And a
of,
large gate.
we have $8,800 into that against a just under $18,000 initial estimate, but the whole fence plan has changed a lot. So
Right.
our only recovery there somehow is probably $8,800. That's what's in the grease.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention later on. I'd like to do kind of an overview, kind of a cost benefit analysis of all these big projects that are turning out to be extremely expensive.
Later in the meeting.
Later in the meeting.
I just have one question. I know I had my opportunity, but I think it's important to note there is some discrepancies in regards to the mapping. In front of 7157 directly, there is a 6-foot long or deep hole that has been cordoned off that is not documented on your map. That is a major safety issue for children falling down the hole.
Address again, please.
7157 Oakland Trail.
And if you ever notice anything like that in the future, if you'll just email us at CDD maintenance.
Well, I just noticed
Oh.
on the map, so I just wanted to.
Okay.
Your attention
But
before it's directed to
Even if it's a large hole on
Sure.
CDD property, if it's on CDD property, let us know right away.
Sure.
We'll get out there and take care of it, so it's not a hassle.
Okay, it was identified through the cleaning of the pipes when they were pressuring it, and it blew the grass and the sand out. So now you have a massive hole that a child can fall down. It
Okay.
has been cordoned off.
Need to address it, not just coordinate off.
Just so you know, I notified the CDD on that one, so 3 times, never heard back from
Okay, and you
them. I can
said,
give you the emails if you like.
that
I
would
would like
be,
you to send those to us.
yes,
When,
please.
how long ago was that?
When I first did the cleaning, that was flooding just past his house where the park is.
You said 3 months ago you sent emails about it?
I have the
That
exact
work
date.
wasn't done 3 months ago, was it?
Well,
But I
So
know
what
what
are
we're
the
talking
issues
about.
with-
It's not where we did the camera work. I know what we're
Okay.
talking about. So.
No, we're just trying to determine.
See where it fell through the cracks.
Yes.
Send them to me,
Please.
please,
Yes.
or forward them so I can see kind of where it fell.
Okay. The only other thing on our engineer's report, I did want to just make a note. This is something we just need to keep our eye on. The Cherry Hill dark sky rear yard swale, we actually have 2 spots. We've got a plan for the one, but we also have one at 3136 dark sky. They put in a pool and added a lot of fill and sod and things in there. It's also preventing stormwater from reaching the swale bottom inlet drain. So Regatta indicated that this should naturally settle and allow
Oh,
for the
sure.
previous flow. Again, 3136 dark
31,
sky.
36, okay.
So we just need to watch it, and if it doesn't settle, Mike from Regatta promised he would get it taken care of, so we'll see how that works out.
Have we done our repair portion of that spell yet?
Not at the other end yet, we're moving forward on that. All right, any other questions of our district engineer?
Supervisor Castle, yes. The Toho water line at the dog park, every month, it's like, you know, we're gonna work with Toho and some contractor, but every month it doesn't.
It's
seem
not that I'm ignoring it, honestly, just, I know on the sale of the magazines, now you have to have a contractor and you have to get a survey now, because Tow does not do that anymore. So there's more cost involved. I'm just trying to gauge if the board's gonna give me direction and the priority, what's gonna happen here. But, you know, that one is not as simple as when Gerard was here, they promised they would do it themselves, and now the upper management says, no, you need to survey it, locate it, do plans, and get a contractor to do it. So just like Billy's Trail, I know those things are been on there for months. I'm just trying to tackle the big ticket items, Garden Road, the alleyways, potentially now the estates. But we can definitely talk if there's a workshop coming up soon that we have to prioritize these on.
Okay, I'm concerned because we're, you know, tomorrow's April and we're getting to that hot season, and a lot of that park is in the sun, and I just am concerned that people are gonna bring their dogs there and throw balls for them, and the dogs are gonna not have anything to drink, and that's gonna be dangerous for some of the dogs. I'm wondering if there is a hose, like there's some place where a hose could be brought in, at least temporarily.
Nowhere near that.
The board's permission, I'll ramp that up, you know, towards the top. I'm trying to gauge the.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just,
Should we, Supervisor Kramer, is there a way, should we just put a notice recommending that people bring water for their dogs?
Yes.
In the interim?
Yeah.
Seems kind of,
Maybe post it.
they should just understand that there's no,
Well, we could just put a little notice that until water services obtained, please bring water for your dogs.
Can you put that out there? On the website?
Okay, I'll need that.
One more, I'm sorry, but before he leaves, I want to understand timing. You have residents that are now incurring fees to get the water evacuated from their space. And what is going to be the interim ahead of rainy season, right? To make sure that that's being taken. I know we're working on the problem, but now you have residents who are incurring fees to get the water out, so they don't have this large amount of water that's sitting in their properties. What is the plan?
You just laid the plan out.
He laid the plan, but that's still months.
I
away.
recommend that they continue doing what they can do.
At their cost.
At their
At
cost.
their cost.
I presume you want us to put money towards the permanent cost. Again, and man, I would recommend that you go back and read the county's article on drainage that Florida floods. And we do our best to take care of it, but we cannot go on private property and be putting, and one of the other problems is that you guys are all surrounded by large wetland areas. And I appreciate that you don't like the water coming up, but unfortunately, some of these drainages are designed to drain to those wetlands, which will elevate the levels of the wetlands. And we're getting that because Harmony West is now dumping all their stormwater from their new pervious areas into the lake. The wetlands are coming up. You may be a little distance from the lake, but not far enough. And it's all
related.
water flows down.
And I respect that.
So
I think the problem that we have is that we've identified that there is an issue. It has not been maintained. And so now you have costs that are being incurred from homeowners in the estates. That is certainly something that they weren't expecting, but they're doing it just to make sure that they don't have the mosquito and the challenges that they're experiencing right now with the large vast amounts of water.
We are doing as much as we can, as fast as we can, and we will do the best job we can. We have gotten mosquito control. They're going to do extra treatments out there, but this is what we can do. We can't change the nature of Florida. And the pipes have now been maintained. They were poor construction in the beginning. So that was unfortunately, for whatever reason, a previous board and a previous engineer signed off on that system. It was a badly designed system. So we're gonna do what we can do, but we need you homeowners to help us out. I don't think water's coming in anybody's homes. That would be a different issue. Water in the yard, not something we're gonna be able to pay right away to help you get water out of the yard. We've got several ponding areas in the middle of Harmony too. If we start putting pumps everywhere there's water ponding, we'd never finish. Any other comments on that issue?
No, not at this point. So,
Anything else of our district engineer? Okay. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It is getting out of control.
I don't,
If it's a real quick,
it is real quick. I'm Rick Conway. I'm president of the Garden Club. Forgive me, I owned a half mile of driveway, gravel driveway in New England. And it simply required dumping gravel and grading it once in a while with a $500 grader blade on the backhoe you
Okay.
already own.
Dick, I appreciate it, but yeah, we've got other issues
Okay,
other than.
trying to
regular
save you
gravel.
money.
I understand, but we have massive RVs and massive garbage trucks rolling up and down there. So, and we have a very delicate pipeline underneath it,
Okay.
which could go boom. So we
And
need. to be
Florida
careful.
soils are very
Yes.
different than New England soils.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. District Engineer. At this point, we'll move on to District Council's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Supervisors. Good to see you this evening. Tim Qualls for the record. I try to be respectful of your time, and so, Madam Chair, I'm happy to go through my report, which was submitted a couple weeks ago, or I could just hit on any questions from the report that you might have. It's your pleasure.
Okay, does anybody have any questions concerning the written report submitted by our district council?
Excellent.
Okay, I have. The dog park trespass warning. So there was a submittal. Have you heard back from the sheriff's office at all? on
We
that?
talked to the sheriff. They said, once it's submitted, is the way I understand it. Now we have a blanket trespass. They have something in their record. So if he's trespassing again, we call, and because this is on the record, they will come out and trespass the individual. So we followed that procedure.
Okay, so we've done the trespass. They'll actually do the follow-up to the trespass warning.
That's
In
what we
other
were
words,
told.
he's already been given his warning.
And we copied him on the letter too, as an additional notice.
Okay.
Who makes the call?
Somebody would have to get through the normal channels and. call the
Yeah,
sheriff.
it can be basically, we didn't do a trespass agreement for further issues though, right? This is just for this one issue.
Yes, we did specifically what the person at the sheriff's office said to do, which they said, send us the notice, we'll do a blanket trespass. The understanding is the next time, if there is a next time, and this individual is at the dog park, we need to let the sheriffs know, they will come out and trespass the individual.
And my understanding is anybody can let them know that he's there since we've done all the work. So if he shows up there and they're notified and they come out and see him there, then that's when it kicks in.
Because that's why I asked the question, because somebody's gonna call the CDD office or the HOA office or whatever the case. So we just need to know when a resident sees him there, that they can call the sheriff's office and say, this guy is here and there's a trespass letter in the sheriff's office files. That should get it done. Anybody can call.
Supervisor Castle, we have two signs by the two older dog parks that say, in case of any disturbance, call our patrol services or the sheriff's office.
I do want to put on the record, and I'll provide it. I don't know if it needs to go to you or to our district manager. This is the official original because he didn't get it truly delivered. We had rumor that he had gotten it delivered by a text or something that you stated at the last meeting. He asked for a meeting, so I did hand deliver it to him.
Perfect.
And did get his signature on it, so there's no question if the sheriff office needs to see that, because I don't think they had, you had your certified letter, but he didn't receive the certified letter, so we may want to forward that, copy of that to them also. Okay, ownership of Central Park, you had an analysis done?
Yeah, out of my pocket. So I had already ordered that and I had gone, Mr. Hawley had given me so much of his time since I first had reached out to him last year. And so I just said, you know what, let me see what it would look like, because Supervisor Castle asked about that. So I just had him run a report, no cost to the district.
Okay.
Wasn't asked by anyone to even include that. I just said, hey, I got it, I'll include it. But the question that was asked to me was, is there any indication that that was ever deeded to the district and then redeeded similar to B1? We went further back even than that property information report, and we find no indication that the property was ever deeded to the district. Now, I'm going to say again, that the area of expertise in this field of law would be with a real estate type of attorney and title insurance if you really wanted to be thorough. But I don't know any reason to suspect that Dog Bark was ever deeded to the district other than the fact that this happened with a narrow little tract. And so it's just the discretion of the board, how you want to handle that.
All right. The report, I went over the report. Again, it only goes back to 2017, which is where the problem came in anyway. So it really doesn't tell us what happened before then. So we still need to do some research on that. What we still need to deal with this, because in the research I've been doing lately, it's very much of a concern because I'm looking at like parcels in the parks and the estate and things, and it appears we may not have had that deeded over to us. So I think it is even more important as we look further into this to really think up, and if you could give us some proposal, or if some sort of analysis, basically going back to 2000 when we first started and started walking forward. Because again, I don't think we have deeded land to anybody. So if from 2000 coming forward, we see deeds to us, then we know essentially we own those lands. If we can't find any deeds to it, we need to figure out how to clear title to things like parks that we may not have a deed to, and just clean up our property records so that we know, because we have responsibilities on those properties to maintain them. We're holding some properties out as we own them. We're doing a lot of work on them. We know that's not a good idea. We have other properties that we may not know we own. So I think it's critical for us to do something. So if our attorney will put together a proposal of how to truly figure all that out, I'd appreciate that. And any deeds you have, again, yes, they need to be recorded with the county, but if something slipped through the cracks and it never got recorded, it may be in your hands and we may need to get it recorded. So whatever you got, if you can provide it to us, it's important that we get this resolved, because it was really scary, some of the things that I was discovering when I started going through this.
Okay, and I've seen this in the, if I may respond, and I understand as you sit here and you look at this and it gets very confusing and you look at all these deeds, and then a few times it's been wrong on the property appraiser's website. I understand all that, but the perspective of us is, through the years, boards have been brought by developers deeds. It's been done at a public meeting, it's been recorded, your custodian keeps all those records. More importantly than that, In order for a land transfer to be properly, to protect the purchaser especially, these things have to be recorded in the public records. So I talked to my team and I said, well, you know, we're gonna have emails of draft deeds sent to us that were then put in the board packet, that were then approved, that were then recorded. The time that it would take for us to compile all that would not justify the return for your district, because that's not even gonna be the official record, which is kept, thankfully, with the Osceola Clerk of the Court. And so,
If it was recorded.
right, and if it wasn't recorded, then that's on the seller, that's the seller's problem.
But now it's our problem.
There's no indication of that.
Again, if we have a park, like the nice park in the States, and
We're maintaining it.
we're maintaining it, and someone gave us a deed to it, but we, for some reason, they didn't send it in, get it recorded, then it is on us to make sure.
Did you say the park in the estate?
Right, no.
What part?
With all due respect, Madam Chair, I disagree. What your only job here, as you sit here as a board, is to maintain infrastructure. If there's an indication that infrastructure is not being maintained properly, then you need to deal with that.
Hold on a second, counsel. You're taking her request in a different way.
I'm trying to understand the nature of it.
I understand. What Madam Chairwoman wants, I think I'm getting it, is to know somewhere all of our records, everything we own is covered on a deed. And what you just said is all those deeds are recorded, and that would be in the county clerk's office. Am I correct?
Yes.
So isn't the question to the county clerk's office, can you produce for us every deed that is named to the Harmony Community Development District?
Okay, I need to interrupt here, and I appreciate that. But what I am saying is that there, for instance, now, there have been strips of land turned over to us, okay? We've agreed on the deed language. And luckily, today, we're pretty good at getting them into the clerk of the court. But in some of these cases, there may have been a deed drawn up. It may never have been sent to the clerk of the court's office. Now, what that means is we need to find those deeds if they're out there and send them in and get them to the clerk.
Well, that was where I was going next. Once we know what is in the inventory at the county clerk's office, now that has to be matched up to what we believe we own. So you have to have a comparison, right? A red map and a blue map. And the red map is everything we think we own. The blue map is everything that we have deeds for from the county clerk's office. Then the two maps get overlaid and you see what's missing. And if there's areas that we think that are missing, then we go back and find them. I think it's easier than trying to find an unrecorded deed. So
Well,
once you know what.
Agreed. You couldn't possibly find an unrecorded.
Exactly right, it's not there.
It might be in somebody's bottom drawer.
Oh,
Or email. I am just telling you that there are certain properties that you go into the property appraiser's database, in the clerk of court's database, and it does not show a deed associated. That they've gone ahead and put the Harmony CDD name on it. But if it hasn't been conveyed from Birchwood to Harmony CDD, then this is wrong.
I'm not arguing that point.
But I'm just saying that we need to find out what we own and what we don't own.
Exactly
And
right.
we're going to
I agree.
miss certain amounts. So yes, we could ask the property appraiser's office to give us a list. But again, like this one, this park.
What park are we talking about?
Well, there are several of them.
In the
Is
estate?
this in the agenda packet, the park we're looking at right now?
This is, one part is when you go down, the main road that goes in straight.
Yeah.
There's area on the left before.
Kind of a big
the
open mulch
turns.
area with big trees hanging there, before you get to the split in the road.
No. after
Well,
that.
let me,
Okay.
yeah,
And then
it's basically all the common areas.
in between where the road divides, that little tree area there, and then there's an area in the back where it's all.
Okay, yeah,
But we
where a
just-
bunch of trees.
Right, this is just a continuing problem that I would like our attorney to give us a plan on how to figure out.
let me ask a
Well,
question.
yeah.
I've been into this lately. The property appraiser's office gets their information from the county clerk's office. right? Once the deed gets recorded, then the property appraiser gets it and puts somebody's name on that piece of property. So in theory, everything that the property appraiser says we own should be able to have a deed come out of the county clerk's office. Is that a pretty good bet?
Yes, I believe I brought a proposal. I know it wasn't perfect, but what I initially thought was, well, anyone trained to search these records can go and search deeds to Harmony.
Right.
And you can do that, and that's why it's recorded. I would suspect that any city in the state could say the same thing. Oh my goodness, what if there's property out there
Right.
that nobody knows belongs to us? And they would spend an inordinate amount of time figuring it out. And my question is, for what purpose? If infrastructure is being maintained, then there is no issue. If the property is actually owned by you guys, but it's being assessed and a developer is paying it, well, that's not a problem for you guys. If it's one of these parks that we think we truly own, even though the last deed shows it going to a third party, and we believe this because there was one little tract over in B1, then I would say maybe we start by looking at those parks. And then what I think I'll do is I'll try to get for you guys to your next meeting, a real estate person who deals with this every day. You know how the law is. The longer you do a specific subject, the more you realize how specific it is. Because we're really going back. I've got out my property law book from law school.
Okay.
And we're going way back to, this was the common law. This is how.
We're taking an inordinate amount of time. What I'd like is for you to put together a plan of how we can resolve knowing what we do and don't own, and if there are some property ownership issues we need to clean up, like the common areas in the state.
Okay, so any common area is not a CDD concern. That's an HOA concern.
No, these are.
HOA has no
parks in-
ownership.
That's what that word is, a term of art with HOA. So that a common area, now if it's a system or a
All
facility.
right, a public area, like a park or a median area or a right of way that is out there that doesn't have ownership on it. Can you just give us an idea of how to clean up our property issues? Just come back with a
No,
plan.
ma'am, no, ma'am, because this question is so broad. Are we looking at parks? And if they're truly owned by the district? I looked at dog park. There's no indication that it was. I'll look at another one. But you're asking me to come up with a plan, and I don't know what the problem is that we're trying to solve.
Okay. We're moving on to the field manager's report.
Wait, before we
Okay.
do,
Certainly.
I had brought something up, to Mr. Claus regarding, and I'm still not, I would have to look at my phone again. The issue that I brought to you is, one of our supervisors may be moving out of the district, and, what does that mean in terms of going to serve? If he's no longer a qualified elector because he doesn't live in the district.
Well, I looked into this, and the statute is gonna be what governs, and the statute says that a board member shall be a qualified elector.
Of the district, within.
I sent you the statute,
Residing
but
within the district.
yes, but what the law says is you look to the specific statute as to the effect of changing residency. The law doesn't say anything about that here. So because I can't give you a clear definitive answer, I believe if I were asked, the conservative advice I would give is you need to be a qualified elector of the district and aware of what's going on here, right? As far as this nuance and this change, because the law is silent on it, my advice is we reach out to the Attorney General. I'm happy to do that. And we talk to the Attorney General's office and we get an opinion on the subject. And I would like, is that something that the board is asking me to do, just to be clear?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm asking you, I don't know.
It's important to note that said supervisor retains a property interest here.
I think it's pretty clear, but if you want to go ahead and get it, I mean, it says they must be a qualified elector, which means they have to be a permanent resident in the property within the boundaries of the district. They need to be qualified to vote, a qualified voter. So when you change your legal residence outside of the district, then you're not any longer qualified to serve on the board. I think it's pretty clear cut, but if this board wants to go further in evaluating this, we could ask for an attorney general's opinion. There may be one out there already.
There are a couple that they actually say something quite interesting. You saw them, that they actually say that changing residency, these two AG opinions, doesn't automatically disqualify one. So it's really, again, an area of law where the more you look into it, so we worked with we worked with the Division of Elections on this, and their advice actually is, look, it's not super clear, right? Because the Constitution talks about these things, right? And so,
Right.
but I did the analysis,
Mhm.
and I believe, and also based on the feedback from the Division of Elections, that your best course is, if you really want to have a more definitive answer, because it doesn't talk about what happens when you change residency, you would reach out to the AG's office. Now, the advice that we always give in these things is, well, look, let's talk to the AG on an informal basis first and see what they say. They may say, oh yeah, this is so clear, right? And then so I don't see how it would hurt to reach out and talk to the AG.
Mhm.
And I think that's a wise idea. We reached out to the Ethics Commission, and we both got a response that we kind of said, this is where the laws get in the way of somebody trying to do a good thing. So look, the advice I would give to be ultra conservative is, look, yeah, if you're gonna move here, you ought not to be on the board, but in researching it, I don't believe that's as super clear cut as I thought. So I'm recommending, I'm repeating myself now for the 5th time, to go to the AG's office. And going back to the other one, because I don't want to disappoint, I'm gonna get a real estate attorney to flesh these things out and get more direction. And I'm truly not trying to, I have no dog in this hunt. I'm just, based on everything I've been researching about how property flow works and these transactions work, the place that you get, the place where anyone would go who's looking at these issues is to where these things have been recorded. And if something hasn't been recorded, then that's not the fault of your district. And I don't know how we would find that, but let's talk to somebody who deals with this on a daily basis. And look, as has happened before, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to sit down here and say, geez, I was wrong, guys. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else y'all need from the loudmouth attorney? At least you're not having to see my bald head on the screen this meeting. That's why I was sitting on the couch. I was staring at that. I was like, that's my bald head. Anything else y'all need?
I have stuff on mine, but it's.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off, Angel, but on the 2 parcels where there is no indication that they are owned by the district, but that are not being assessed, those need to be assessed. And I don't understand, and I do understand, because fundamentally the way I look at that is any property receiving a special and peculiar benefit needs to have its fair allocation and assessment. So my recommendation is let's get those 2 lots on the roll moving forward.
Okay, you need to direct Elizabeth. So she said you.
Elizabeth, if you're listening, this is Tim. No, I'll reach out. I just had a meeting with her today on a
Yeah,
separate
she
thing.
sent you an email. If you respond back to that, then she can do what she said.
Is the board comfortable with that? Don't you agree? I don't see why you wouldn't be assessing it.
As
It's-
long as we
Well,
can.
that
This is
was the
supervisor
question. As
Castle.
long as you're directing her that those can be assessed.
Yeah, because
she
they're
can
not
get
owned
them
by
on
the
roll.
district and they are receiving a special and peculiar benefit, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What about the parcel?
I'd like my direction to be in the minutes, but I'll reach out to her as well.
Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was rude.
Let's- Okay, Supervisor Castle.
What about the parcel on the corner of Butterfly Drive and
That's-
Schoolhouse Road? Is that?
Yes, that's one of,
parcel Not, didn't have assessment?
that's
attached
correct.
to
It has no assessment attached to it, nor does the one that provides access out to Catholic.
And,
Those are the 2 parcels in question.
well, but now the CDB owns that parcel.
No, we don't own either of those.
We don't own.
It doesn't show, you can't find
it.
anywhere.
No, this is the Catholic.
Okay, okay. And question for district council then is, are we able to retroactively collect or only from this point forward?
Yes, ma'am. Because you've never actually put forward the roll and sent it to the collector, you may not now go back in time and collect.
Thank you.
That question has come up in the past, and there was a reason why they're not on. But anyway,
Do you know the reason they're not on?
I don't remember, I'm too old, but there was a reason.
Okay. Field managers report.
Speaking of old, here comes Mr. Perez. He's getting older by the day, hanging around here.
Perez.
Right.
All right, so in front of you, you have the field manager's report, and we have the site audit, which we can touch on if you would like, but basically I wanted to go over a couple of key items, some updates. The Bluestem sod repair was finally done by Triple Palm. Towboat update, we will be picking that up Monday. It is completed. And that'll be coming back, and Brad will be assisting Vincent in getting that in the water, doing the inspections, make sure everything's good to go on that. The swell restoration work that was talked about in Dark Sky was on hold, but now is going to be restarted, and it sounds like we may have a second location, correct?
Yes.
We're gonna monitor the second, I just wanna make sure I understand, we're gonna monitor the second.
Monitor it for a short while, and I have been assured by the representative of Regatta Pools that they will take responsibility for correcting that one if it continues to pump water and not flow properly.
Then I will work with field staff on getting the original swale restoration work.
Supervisor Castle, so the swell at the original swell grading issue. I just want to be sure that we are going to be doing the work on both sides of that, not just one side, because as you know, I heard from a resident who's on the left side of that. She has some findings, she sent a photograph that I sent you, and I just want to make sure that it's not just the right side, it's also the left side.
Yes, ma'am. Under David's last change order, he's coming out with a shovel to help. I'm totally joking.
I'm sorry, this is Supervisor Kramer. Actually, the area that needs the work done is right behind the resident's home that put in the pool that caused the filling in of the swale.
That's the high zone.
So that's the high point. It needs to be draining towards the conservation area or the end of the road. It needs to be going out that way. The water is ponding, that high area is blocking the swale drainage and pushing the water back behind, actually, not one, but two homes now, so. We'll be digging out right behind the home with the pool to allow it to flow.
Yeah,
That's where the dam
But
is.
you're saying it flows from
So you're looking at the house.
west, from east to west?
To the conservation area.
Yes. It
It's
should,
towards the conservation.
should start from the center and go
It
east.
flows from east to west. And the issue is only right there. Why would the house to the west, where the flow should not be impeded, have collection of water?
No, the high point is behind the problem house, and then that'll be the top of the mountain, and then both sides will run down equally away from that. That swale doesn't run completely east to west or west to east. The high point is behind that house, and that's where the problem came in. Then, once it's graded,
Which way does the water flow?
both ways.
I believe the high point is actually more on the center of the pond area. This house, these are all towards the end. So I believe over the properties that we're talking about, it is east to west.
Well, our
Not
engineer
across the
picked,
entire street.
the engineer picked the high point.
Let me please correct all this.
Sure.
If you're standing in the pond berm, facing the pool that got constructed,
Yes,
all right? We're gonna regrade it so it flows from left to right.
east to west.
Am I- yeah,
Yep.
East to
If I'm
west.
standing in the pond, so I wanted to go and do this. to
Okay.
get it towards the
Right.
house.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. So why would the house to the west of the pool ponding issue if it's supposed to be draining toward the west?
Because there's a high point that's keeping the water from going down, so it needs more grading.
But the
So we
high
don't-
point,
She's talking.
the
I
high
understand what
point
she's saying.
is,
On the
is
east
to the
side,
east side.
what she's saying, the ponding. So if you get to the
Right,
high
so
point of the
here's
swale,
here's a house with a pool, right?
Mhm.
So the water flows this way. Okay,
Should.
should be flowing this way, right? So, and the original problem was here on the east side where water responded because this was blocking it. But if it flows this way, why does this house have a pond behind it?
Does that house?
Yeah.
Who's the owner of that house? Is it? No, they're on the other side.
David, did you happen to put a stake in the ground where the high point, the middle is?
I've been out there after it rains. I didn't see any issue on the other side.
On the other side. So I think she's one over. So
Yeah.
this is.
No, that's the Millers, this is the one, what's this one?
This one right.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it's possible if you started with a leap. If you
That's-
started with a continuous slope and then you had something disturb it, it's possible you could still have some residual issue on both sides.
Doesn't take much.
Right, but we would need to see
I
a
don't know why
picture
she's
of,
having, But we need to look at it and see.
A couple inches
I think
depression
it
or
may
rise
have
will make it run.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
so if they can send us a picture, if, you know,
They sent us a picture.
okay, then I mean, it should be pretty, I mean, well, they've done this before. They did like the whole street, you know, after half the houses were built up. So, yeah, if it's not, to me, it doesn't seem completely out the realm of possibility that they, to get a continuous grade going to get good drainage, they might need to do a little bit on, you know, both sides of it. So.
All right. Your manager?
Sidewalk panel replacement update. Still no response from Orlando Driveway. ACPLM had a manager change and I'm waiting on that panel proposal replacement as well. We took it, we being the Infomart field side, not myself, but my other staff, took it upon ourselves to go out and do a sidewalk inspection and inventory for you all right away because of the current situation with issues and trips and falls. And I believe we provided a proposal for grinding and panel replacements that's in your agenda packet. And I can talk about that if you want now, or I can keep going through and finish this update and we can come back to that.
Let's go ahead and discuss it.
Sure.
Since-
So the pricing that's there, and I believe there's a spreadsheet or a breakdown with, I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Okay, there's
Yes.
Yeah. That,
811 grinds are needed and
79 panel replacements. Those 79 panel replacements total, because all your sidewalks do have different widths, right? There's some 8 footers, 6 footers, 5 footers. Total 1,731 square feet of panels, which equates to 21.6 change yards of concrete. So what the bottom of the spreadsheet shows that basically, on average, our grinding guy, not staff on site, our grinding folks can get 16 panels done on average a day, ground, not replaced. So what the numbers below where you see 1, 2, 3, 4 is, if we're currently on site doing, our staff is doing grinding, that's part of our contract, right? But it hadn't been done on,
expeditious.
well, I'm trying to,
Had been done regularly.
yeah, routinely, is
Right.
probably a better way of putting it, right? So when that happens over time, these oak trees are getting larger, when you get more lift on sidewalks, okay? So if you're not doing it once a year, or at least going through and doing an audit once a year, you're not staying on top of the grinds, you're gonna have something like 811 grinds. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 is basically number of men. If we want to do this in-house and not pay a dime, one guy would need to be dedicated basically for 50, almost 51 days, only doing grinding. Now, if that happens, hey, that's 8 hours a day. If that happens, obviously that one labor staff here would not be doing the normal. duties.
Let me stop you right there.
Go ahead.
Several years ago, when we bought that little machine, we didn't have the sidewalk problem that we had. That was it's a touch-up machine. So if anybody was seeing it, it grinds a 12-inch pack, small engine. It was made to do a few a week, maybe, right? And it has paid for itself over the years. When you start getting on a scale like this, that's not the machine. It's not what it was intended for. That's not why we bought it. But it kept getting serviced and used for this project. But indeed, there needs to be a different machine for doing this.
So we have since purchased new handheld grinders that we hook up to generators, and we bought concrete grinding discs.
Scarify it, make a nice even. Yeah.
Correct, and it's a nice clean finish. look.
Absolutely.
We brought out Freddie to do training with the staff, so their original grinds versus what they're doing now look totally different. It's night and day.
Yes.
They're a nice straight line, about 6 to 8 inches in depth. It has a nice contour to what's there. That's what we would be using. The machine that was currently here is more kind of a scarifier. At least that was the finished product. It wasn't very flush. It was very rugged. So,
And it required two people, one to blow and one to.
Yes.
well, they both will. I
Okay.
mean, it would technically, I mean, yes, we should have somebody blowing. There's a lot of dust with the grinder or the scarifier, doesn't matter.
Here's the extension of grinding. The sidewalks are popping up because you got roots underneath. You can grind them once, maybe twice. Now you've run out of concrete and you're spending more money after more money after more money when the root is the cause of the problem. It's probably just as easy and almost as cost effective to just pop the panels out and put new concrete in and take the roots out at that time.
Cost effective, no, in the long run, yes.
Yeah, over time, you're just gonna keep spending money grinding, and then ultimately you're gonna say, no more grinding on this panel. Gotta pop it, cut the roots and put a new panel in.
And that is accurate, but a lot of districts do that for budgetary purposes. You don't have the money to go out and rip up X amount of panels, so they
811
will
sidewalks.
grind
Right.
them. It's a cheaper fix over a course of a couple of years, and then you get to the point exactly that you have to replace it. Point. But budgetary.
So, right, Teresa Kramer. What I'm looking at right now is that if we went in and replaced all the panels that needed grinding, as well as the ones that need to be replaced, we're looking at like $750,000 or more.
What was that?
Yeah, but 811 grinds. What's the cost per grind?
It was in your proposal.
$65,000.
The cost per grind.
Oh, sorry, it's $20 and $38.
Yeah, it's 38,
$38 so $38
right.
Per grind.
per grind per panel. Per grind.
That's what Infomart is charging Harmony, because we obviously do work out here. The typical is about 48.
So being the one that ended up representing Harmony in the most recent lawsuit, I think we need to basically get on top of at least the grindings and panel replacements that are identified right now. And then we can go back to our staff maintaining them.
But let me back up a
after
second.
that.
We have 811 grinds. You said it was $65,000?
No, that's the total for the grinds and the replacements.
Oh, okay, all right.
Grinds and
Here.
The
replacements.
grinds,
All right,
the
yeah,
grinds total 31,000 approximately, and the replacements.
I move to approve grindings and replacements in the amount of $65,438 as detailed.
I have a motion to approve the Infomart proposal for grindings and panel replacement by Steve Ruby, a second by Supervisor
Well,
Castle.
hold on a second. To comply with our purchasing and procurement agreement, we have to decide where we're gonna pay from this from. We're gonna go with Infomart based on past service, and they're our
I
contractor.
presume it will be from our sidewalk. fund.
Yeah. we
Does
have
it have
to-
enough
funds?
That's $43,000.
Well, we also have a reserve too,
Right.
that has sidewalk named on it, so. between
Take it
those-
all out of the reserve.
No, between those two, We can take from this
Okay.
year's and then whatever.
It's all the same pot of money, but I'm just trying to
Right.
say where we're gonna get the money from.
Reserve
So,
sidewalks and alleyways, 43,500. Of course, sidewalks and alleyways
Yeah, I
is
understand.
also a resurfacing.
well, one thing at a time. With the sidewalks is very important at this point. So my motion has been amended to include the payment to come out of sidewalks and alleyways with the residual from the sidewalk reserves.
Okay,
Motion on the table.
do you accept the
I do.
amendment? Amendment has been accepted by the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, hearing none, motion passes.
Project completed by next meeting. You're good, dude. Come on.
All right.
I will work on scheduling. I will, and I'm gonna be very upfront with you all. We do have some ongoing jobs right now. So I will get scheduling and make it a priority that Harmony is moved up on.
We're further ahead now than we were 10 minutes ago. So good.
I will send an email out to the board with a better date for you. The ballpark. I don't want to overpromise.
Okay. Do you have another proposal we have to address?
Sure.
Like what? The invasive species.
Oh, my God, you scared me. I was so done with my checklist. I was going straight down and I'm like, I don't have a proposal for that one. Yeah, so there are two proposals that were submitted. One was not on the agenda. The first one is from Aquatic Weed Management. And that is for $194,000. There is a it's a phased approach. I'm trying to find it in the agenda.
Here, so
218.
4 seconds.
There you go.
Thank you. So Aquatic Weed Management, who does work with Bowman and Blair, who was at the initial inspection, provided in the agenda, it's a $200,000 proposal. They did send a revised, which I shared with the board.
I sent it out and you sent it out.
Yeah, for $194,000. No, I did verify with Aquatic Weed that there were no changes to the scope or specifications on that revised proposal. And like I mentioned in my email, I did not request any revised proposals as well. So there's that one, and then a separate one came in from SiteWorks, who
They're both, actually, both of those vendors are on Zoom,
they are both on Zoom.
correct?
All right.
So if you have any questions for them, I can continue to discuss them, but if you have any questions, I would direct it to the vendors.
I do have a question. This is for site land management. Who do we have here representing site land management?
This is James Piney. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We can.
Okay.
A little loud,
Yeah,
so
I got
we're adjusting your volume now.
All righty.
Okay, James, in your proposal, you indicated that you're going to mulch all three of the invasives, the
Coban grass, Brazilian.
pepper tree, the Brazilian pepper, I understand. The Cogan grass. Is there a reason that you were proposing to mulch that?
Well, so on that mulching part, the approach that we would take is, I went and walked all the areas. So W4 on the map, the one that is surrounded by the golf course, there's a lot of Brazilian pepper on that one along the driving range and golf course. So we would mulch that down. As far as the other areas go, there'd be a chemical approach first, and then we would mow it down. And then we would do that process 2 more times after that. I know I don't have the month on the third treatment, but it would be in September. So the other approach that we would take while doing that is creating access for the spray team to come in. So on the areas where the Cogan grass is, we would still mulch through those areas to create access on the inside of those areas to make sure that we're getting the coverage that we want within those mitigation areas.
Okay, so your mulching would be just up to the Cogan grass?
No, ma'am. We would if specifically Kogan grass on some of those areas, it would be sprayed first and then we would mow it down once it's sprayed. And then on top of that, in those areas, we would create, I don't want to call it a trail system, but we would create access with the spray team to get inside of those areas so they can effectively spray the other invasives within those areas. W4 again is a huge piece. So I walked through it. We would create access through it so the sprayer can get in there and get the coverage that we want.
Okay, so can you describe to me what your treatment methodology would be for Old World Climbing Firm?
Yeah, so I have actually partnered with Nuclear Aquatics, and Matt is also on this call. So Matt, if you want to explain the tactics behind that.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Matt Messmer with Nuclear Aquatics. Partnered with JP here, or PJ, I'm sorry. As far as the treatment goes on the climbing fern, essentially you're going to use a product called Triclopyr. So that's what we would use to attack that with, and that would need to be sprayed. So anywhere of those areas, we would be spraying that on that particular plant, as well as the Koden grass, we would spray that as well. The Brazilian pepper we can treat with a spray treatment, but mulching, if he can get in and mulch a lot of it, it will help a lot on getting it down, because even if I spray it, it's still going to be a dead tree. So you need to mulch it down to get it out of there.
Okay, so Old World Climbing Fern, you're just planning on spraying it? Do you do anything else before you spray, or do you just spray the entire plant?
Well, I mean, I would go in and take care of the groundwork stuff of it. So when you get in there and where it's starting to climb up, I mean, I would clean the underbrush around. If there's a heavy infestation in one area, I would mulch that area around that tree where it's getting choked out, and then he would spray it from there. So we're kind of working at that mass that's climbing
Grind it
up.
all up with a grinder, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have a percent clear? Do we have a requirement with the Water Management District? As I recall, I think it's 90% clearance.
Yeah, so our goal would be 90+%, and that's really the reasoning behind the mulching. When I mentioned the quote unquote trail system, is to ensure that we're getting inside of those areas. If we just try to walk through those areas with backpack sprayers or whatever we could get in there, I don't think you're going to be highly effective at covering those areas. So what we would do is Matt and I would meet there to start, and we would walk those areas and create a map of where my team would mulch to make sure that he has access through the entire area. Without, the goal here is not to go and underbrush the whole mitigation area, because it's a conservation mitigation area. So we would be strategic on where we run that machine, create a path for him to access, the entire thing. The end goal after 3 treatments would be, yes, 90+% control.
Yeah, I think with the collaboration between the two of us, we can definitely get in there, walk the areas, identify some of the worst areas on maybe getting my spray rigs in there and taking care of them. If we have to backpack spray, we can, but it's not as effective as getting in there with an ATV. So I think between the two of us, we can definitely knock it out. I'm hoping more than 90% is my goal.
Okay.
The supervisor lead, I have a question with that. So on these conservation areas, we have these signs, we have posted them demarcating this area. They all say that clearing of land is not allowed. Making these kind of maintenance trails, that's not going to count as clearing land. Is that correct? We need engineering or legal or?
I will touch on that. I did call, if I may, I did call, I didn't realize it was St. John's. I did call Swift Mud and have a discussion with them about it. There were 0 issues with them. However, I would make that call to St. John's myself as well. I don't think they'll be much different, but what's,
South Florida,
yeah.
it flows south.
Yeah, this
When I told them where it was, they're like, oh, that's St. John's, you got to call them. But I'm sure they're probably similar, but I would call and find out.
Okay, thanks.
right. So your proposal is to take vehicles into the conservation areas to accomplish the treatment. Is that right?
When you say vehicles, yeah, small, ATV type things, I'm not taking a full-size truck in there. I'm not making
Right.
that.
Yeah, okay.
And Lee again, so would you be talking like a flail mower or something? Would this clearing be also done with by vehicle?
I would take my forestry mulching equipment in there, which essentially would it would leave a trail that you could drive on or walk on with ease. I mean, that's just what the machine does. I can send some pictures or whatever of what the end product of that looks like, but it's flat ground. Anything in the way is turned into mulch.
Any other questions for site land management? Yes.
Do we think they should reach out to Stefano at South Florida specifically and ask these questions?
Yes, we're gonna have to coordinate, or you're gonna have to coordinate through our environmental ecological consultant, Bowman and Blair, and work through Stefan Pierre with the South Florida Water Management District. Because there is concern about cutting paths into our conservation area. I want to be very careful. We've finally gotten a really good relationship with them, and I really not want to have that messed up. So
no, absolutely. What was the name so it is Swift Mud. Who was the name that you just mentioned?
it's not Swift Mud, it's South Florida Water Management.
Or South Florida, I'm sorry. What was the name?
Stefan Pierre.
Well, I will do some due diligence on my end, regardless of how this shakes out, and I'll see what they say.
Okay, great. Any other questions of site land management? Okay. Okay, we'll go to Supervisor Castle for a question for our engineer, and then we will go to aquatic weed management. I have some questions for them also.
Sure. Supervisor Castle, David, have you ever really said that?
No, I have not.
I see. And do you know if the woman at Blair has?
I will ask after them all.
Okay. Let's turn, do we have someone here from aquatic weed management?
Yes, ma'am. Bill Snively.
Okay, Bill, we're going to adjust your volume up just a bit.
Go ahead, Bill.
Bill, you basically explained to us how you propose to treat these areas.
Similar approach to the other guys. We'll do it all in-house. We do have a mulcher. We do have crews. I disagree a little bit about getting some of that equipment into that wetland. From what I think it was Brad that rode with us that day, just talked about all the water in there. So I think you're going to end up with hard to assess with the forestry mulcher. So anyway, we would go in, we would poodle cut the climbing fern, cut it down. Anything that's 8 feet or higher, we'd cut it down, treat everything underneath, and hack and squirt the peppers, kill them in place. Caesar weed, Kogan, all the same, we'd kill them in place. We would, in our estimate, does mention some mulching as necessary to help us. So some of those edges where it's really thick, like they're talking about, we would do some mulching there, or after the initial treatment, come in and mow it back. We're on the Kogan, where we can access, and see the regrowth better and treat it better on the second and third application. So that's our goals. We're there with the 90% plus success criteria at the end of the third treatment. And we need to get started before it goes underwater.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions of aquatic weed management?
Just why, this is Supervisor Castle, just, yeah, Bill, you could explain why your proposal is more than double.
Explain why my proposal's what?
I'm sorry, they haven't seen each
Oh.
other's prices, I don't think. Okay, I'll let you know, Sightland Management's proposal was 3 treatments over a year's period for $82,000. Aquatic Weed Management, 3 treatments over a year. 90% success. Sounds like Site Management will also guarantee a 90% kill rate. If that's the case, then they're somewhat similar, except the different treatment methodologies. And that's 194,000. And these are both for approximately 180 acres. Is that not correct? Okay.
So Bill, I was asking why why your proposal is more than double. Site plan managers, I'm not making any judgments, I'm just inquiring.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Was that to Bill with aquatic weed?
Yes.
Just think there's that much to the job. I think there's more to it than that. We may work at different margins. I'm not sure, but you're welcome to hire them.
Okay, any other questions for either of the companies we're considering? Hearing none, we'll bring the discussion back to the board. Thank you, gentlemen. We very much appreciate your information.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too much of a disparity there.
We have 2 proposals before us. I presume we asked more companies to
Yes, I
quote?
reached out to Cross Creek Environmental, I reached out to Solitude, both of which do this type of work all over the state. Neither one were able to provide a proposal.
I suspect that the reason that the lower price is the lower price is because they're the method of getting in there. Using the skid steer track machine with a forestry mulcher in the front is the most labor unintensive way. It's quick. And they can also skid steer those things around the base of the trees and cut all those roots out. And
But no, I have serious concerns if we're going to be considering that because of the damage it causes to those conservation areas.
these are not rugged, these machines are made for this. It's a rubber, if you ever seen it, it's a rubber track and it doesn't, you could run it over your lawn and it won't do any damage to your grass. That's the idea behind it. So they're intended for this kind of work. And they just put a grinder in the front, basically a wheel with teeth that flail out. You asked about a flail mower, it's the same idea. And it just goes in and they skim the surface. The operator can put it down as low as he wants to pick it up to leave as much surface he wants. Really is, they're environmentally friendly. That's why they sell them.
Perhaps you should hear from our.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, they did something similar with the same machine in Bradenton, Terra. Enormous, their whole community is covered with conservation all the way around and went through the same process and the most efficient way. And yes, it does look yucky for a little bit. It brings right back up very quickly. And again, Hillsborough may be a little different than Osceola, but it wasn't an issue and it actually eradicated it pretty good. So just makes
Okay.
sense.
So you have had experience with them? Okay,
Not with that company, with the machines.
With the
they're
machines
talking
they're
about. Yes, not the company itself.
David has something
yes,
to say.
David.
No, I think the machine and the method will be very successful. I'm just concerned about, we've been dealing with a lot of conservation areas. You can do little, to no disruption of existing lands within there. So I just want to make sure that Stefano with South Florida is completely comfortable with that form of reduce the species.
Again, there are some, depending on the parcels, there are some either overgrown trails or, I don't, I agree with what you're saying. My thought is that they should be able to, I don't know if they'll need to do like some kind of drone surveying or something like that, but there should be, not just, okay, point A to point B, we're just going to make a straight line, through there. But my thought is that they should be able to, with consultation from South Florida, figure out a way to do it without being too disruptive to what's already growing there. And clearing out maintenance areas within the spirit of the rule to not be clearing out land in conservation areas.
To that point, we're already getting in there and cleaning our guys. To getting in is the hard part. You have a thicket, right? And that's what that little machine is going to do. It's going to go in and make a path so that the guys can come in with the backpack sprayers and get into the tighter areas.
Okay, now,
Still have
what
to get in.
he's, okay. My understanding from the proposal he's outlined is that this is instead of backpack sprayers. So they will be trying to access all. I presume they will do some backpack sprayers where the machine can't
because
get
the
in.
machine, right, exactly.
But
You still need to get in deep. If you're going in a couple 100 feet, you can't
No,
physically
it's-
hand clear all that mess. So I'm going to presume they're going to find trails and they're going to work their way and make a path in. And while they're there, any trees they can get to with the machine, grind up all the base, and then the rest is hand cut and spray. I
So-
like that method of doing it.
at this point, does anybody on the board want to make a motion?
If we don't have answers, I suppose what we could do is approve a proposal pending answers from Bloom and Blair, from South Florida Water Management District, from, who's the third person?
Our engineer.
Oh, Stefan Pierre
It's South
is
Florida.
with the South Florida Water Management
All right, and so but there was two people that we were gonna have site plan management check with. One was Stefano and the other one was.
Bowman and Blair.
Okay, right, so I think that if we decided, and we need to get a new one, because it's really now. Decided, my concern is that site land management is a name and quantity to us, whereas chronic weed management is somebody that's referred to us by somebody that's trusted by our engineer. And I'll just leave it there.
I move that pending the approval of South Florida and our environmental consultant, that we go with the proposal from site land management.
In the amount of
Yeah, sorry, in the amount of, yes, 82,000.
paid from
And-
reserves.
I believe so.
And
And
if they will agree to the 90%.
yes, sorry, yes.
Well, they did verbally, but
Yes.
it'll have to be.
It'll-
In
it would
writing,
have to be
yes,
in the contract.
contractually. Yes.
So I have a motion to approve the proposal presented by Sightland Management, provided that we have a sign off from Bowman and Blair and South Florida Water Management District on their treatment plan. And that they agree to the 90% kill rate. Do I have a second?
It's a tough call.
I'll second the motion. So the motion was made by Supervisor Elite, seconded by Supervisor Kramer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't know if they're still with us.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else, field manager?
I have a few more items, but if there's any questions you would have for me, RFP package is complete. It advertised started today.
For landscaping.
Correct. Did I not say that part? Sorry. We will have the bid package will be picked up next Thursday. We will have a pre-bid meeting, a mandatory pre-bid meeting on site the following Monday. And then from there, we'll be turning it around. Bids will be due prior to your May meeting, and I'll have a bid summary for you at that time.
May meeting,
Have to have it ready for budgets.
next meeting is it?
What do you want it quicker? You gotta give them time,
We-
we gotta do a pre-bid meeting and.
Kind of do due diligence,
do their
measuring.
Due diligence, we have to provide answers to all their questions.
2 months.
Okay, thank you for that update. In your business also, which we've already discussed, was the Buck Lane.
Correct, I guess.
Now, again, these are, you have the samples here?
That's what I wanted to-
All right.
I have them laid out by type. So this is your cheapest version, and from what Vincent told me, they said it's made in China. I don't know what that means, other than it's made in China. This is the version you were looking at, okay? Here, and I'm passing this in. I'm
That's the
sorry.
18, the 20, the 24.
Correct, it's in order with the proposals on top. You see a difference in the backing. This is the 24 now. This is the actual 24. This is the Sin Augustine. It does not have boat shaped leaves like I thought it would. I don't know. It's just a denser. I think it's a more denser feel. So like
It's tall, it's long.
it may be. You guys are laying over a little bit, but it's. I think there's a denser, more strains in there. So you feel like how there's more padding almost.
Oh, it's softer.
Oh, the dogs are gonna love this stuff.
Oh, dear.
It will, I will warn you, in the summertime,
That's a lot of help.
in the summertime, it's going to be additionally warm,
Yeah,
like 15 to 20 degrees warmer
that's okay.
than normal turf.
Luckily, it's very shaded though.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I know.
warning
We're gonna leave the irrigation here and turn it on.
you. Sure, why not? Make it a water park.
Nice.
They did provide other samples, but they didn't price those, so I can share them with you if you want to see them, or if you're not interested, but there are some, like, there's a centipede, there's a fescue.
So this will be kind of like a test case. and-
Sample 3 is supposed to be like St. Augustine.
Well, I think it's the density, you know, St. Augustine is more spongy than a fescue or a rye, where they're a little thinner, there's not as much thatch layer in those typically.
Don't get confused by the name.
Yeah, the backings are the same. The difference is in the density of the
This is the
fabric.
fescue.
Same back.
This is a 4-3 versus the 2-4-3. We did, but I'm sharing them in case you do like a different one. This is the centipede. And this is the St. Augustine 347.
Oh.
It's like, it's very similar to artificial turf that you see. But they'll roll it out, there's an adhesive back. It'll be prepped, and then they tuck it on the edges, so. I think there is, in the proposal, there is discussion on the prep work and how they do it, so.
Fresh aggregate, concrete or compacted
Yeah.
sand, a concrete container along with perimeter.
It was like laying pavers. Yeah, you put the crush out and get the sand and put the pavers down, and then from there, they concrete edges.
Yeah, they want some drainage in the bottom.
Correct.
So if this goes well, then we can do our soccer
Athletic
field.
I was thinking the same thing.
This is our test case. At this point, if everybody's had a chance to take a look at them, so we can get moving on, does anybody have a motion or?
To approve the, which one is it? Yes, the St. Augustine one for $24,950. It's a more substantial. $24,952.
Now, that would
One that you
be
can't-
amended for the entire area though, so it may be closer to 30,000.
Yeah, it's gonna go up 25%.
We can add in plant beds that are currently there.
Okay, so I approve,
Move.
sorry, I move to approve, using what's the number there?
The St. Augustine X47,
St. Augustine X47.
St. Augustine, sorry.
St. Augustine
Sin.
X47, for the covering of Book Lane Park.
Do I have a second?
Not to exceed,
Well, just give the square footage price.
oh, okay, which is,
Do you still have those?
where's
It's
that
on the
piece of
proposal.
paper?
It's right there in the middle.
That's not the
I'm sorry,
one.
it's right here. It's 8. There's another one missing somewhere.
Piece of paper that looks like
Oh.
these,
There it is. $8.78.
for $8.78 a square foot.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the St. Augustine,
St. Augustine,
synthetic Augustine at $8.78 a square foot for the areas in Buck Lane Park. Do I have a second? I will second that. It will be a good test case for us. Okay, any more comments or discussions? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, 3-1, motion passes. They will try this out and see how it goes.
Okay, so, the question that I had was after we approved the weed management proposal, it was subject to two approvals, right? Permanent layer, accepted or natural. What happens if they do not?
We'll be back.
Then you have to
Comes
come
back.
back.
We'll be back. All right.
We're gonna do this.
Weeds will still be there.
Well, yeah, at that point, we'll just continue the treatment and probably have to come back in a couple months. District managers report.
Yes, so mine's quick. I'll talk about a couple things. Garden lot revenues as of March 22nd, the revenues total $1,206.60. Expenditures total $1,107.56. So they're basically right there as of March. And as we discussed before, there's a resolution out there. I've asked Sylvia to send it over that states that the garden has to spend what they bring in. So they have asked for some LED lights. I asked Brett and Vincent to hold off on those because they're at their expenditures unless the board wants to approve the district paying for those. So that's on the garden club.
Okay.
LED lights.
They
What
are very base model like Amazon.
Yeah, no, but CDD facilities close at dusk.
Well, where do they plan on using these and for what? Are they for the interior of the shed or do we know where they're going to use these?
Hi, this is one of the Toby Marley. Just like Marley's talk in the The shed?
The shed
Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
and the gazebo?
Yeah.
Okay. Shed and gazebo.
I'm sorry, they have a little schoolhouse in the rear of the garden lot, so they are.
There too?
And this Supervisor Castle, I can see that having lights there may also prevent some vegetable stealing. Possibly, I don't know.
So what?
Vegetable.
Stealing of the product.
Or stealing of,
Steps of equipment down there too.
yes,
Not sure.
yes.
So it's mutually agreeable.
We had a
Steps and-
utility vehicle stolen also.
That's on the garden club.
I have a quick question on the garden club. Our resolution, I'd like to see that resolution.
Yeah.
Need a copy of that one? I think it says, okay, tell me what it
I
says.
just have, I don't have it in front of me. I just got a screenshot, so I haven't seen the actual whole resolution, so. I
Okay.
asked for it.
Okay, so we need to see that because my understanding is that it says they have to spend it all that they earn so that we don't have any carryover.
Correct.
But it doesn't limit the CDD from expending funds to improve the area. But we don't want to spend it on like, we want them to spend their money on chemicals to keep the paths clear and stuff like that, supplies. But actual improvements such as lights could be over and above that.
To my knowledge, that was not mentioned in there. But again, I haven't seen the entire, in its entirety, but no.
Do we know how much the LED lighting they're requesting is?
Yes, they sent it over, I thought. While he's looking that up, I did speak with council on two things. One, he covered were the two parcels, Cat Lake access and across from the school. The other thing was, as I mentioned the last meeting, of itemizing his bills to reflect lining it out and time spent. And maybe I want to clarify, at the last meeting, an auditor asked, they didn't demand or anything like that. I didn't think that it was a big deal because he used to line them out according to, until they approved it in February. I did look in the February minutes, and I think it was Supervisor Castle did ask to continue lining that out so you could see. So I've asked him, Tim can speak on it now, and you as a board approved him to go to a flat fee. So as of February of 21, I think, right? I don't have the exact date, but yes, I believe it's February 21. He started just providing a flat fee invoice and there's nothing itemized. So I told him I'm leaving it at that. If the board would like him to itemize it out, then you can state that now. I'm not talking about retro. I was more talking about going forward. But again, I'll leave it in the board's hands.
When we had discussed it, as you said, sorry, Supervisor Castle. I had mentioned that I would still like to see things itemized out, and is that not something that you're willing to do?
Oh, it's not a matter of willing, you know, as Supervisor Castle, I'll do anything that I can to help. The way our billing software works, by putting in entries, it starts to calculate and it gets real skewy with hours, and it's really not the way that billing is done. The auditor I talked to said it's not necessary from an auditing standpoint. If you want me to, I don't know the best way to accomplish that. I think my response would be the best indicator of what we're doing is our general counsel report and the various other questions we get from supervisors. But I want to work with the board. I don't know the best way to accomplish it. I can't do it effectively through our billing software.
Could you just like jot down when you're working for Harmony, you know, not to the tenth of an hour, a quarter of an hour, but just jot down the item and why I think it's important, you know, in an estimate of time is because if we go back and look at different projects to see what our overall cost has been on them, it's good to have some way to capture a portion of your time that can be quantified to that.
Take a look at the engineer's report
So
every month. He shows, you know, this took this many hours and this took this many hours. Who worked on it and how many hours it took. And then all this
You
stuff.
pay him by the hour?
yeah, but yeah, that's
This isn't
different.
a, this is a,
We're just looking for just a general breakdown, you know. Here's my bill for $4,000 flat fee. Here are just the different items that I worked on this month, instead of us having to go back and look through all your reports and everything. It's right there on your bill. Just bullet points of what you did and approximately how long it took you to do those things. That would be helpful.
I understand it would be helpful and I will try to figure out how to do that. I can't do it through the billing software, so I'm not sure.
Well,
Again.
there is a relatively easy way, but it may be too sticky, or it may, tell you not to do it. You could use your accounting software as you do with other clients who you're charging hourly for, but at the end of the billing cycle, issue a credit
To make it
to
$4,000.
make it $4,000. Now, your accountant may tell you not to do that, but it's, I mean, if you're doing that for other clients, it's certainly a way to track without putting any work into it, because your system is already doing it. Now, I don't know if you pay that system per account or how you pay for that system, so I don't know if there's an extra expense because you're using it for an account that's not paying you for the full hourly rate. So, but it's just an idea that could be an easy way to itemize things and not have to worry that you have to do it.
That sounds like an excellent idea. I'll look into that.
Thank you.
And the other thing were the minutes, and Chairwoman Kramer covered that in the beginning. It's getting very hard with everyone talking over one another. It's getting hard to hear and get clear things. I mean, I don't even know how many hours upon hours trying to clean it up. And then other people go on top of me and spend hours trying to clean that up. So it is just getting difficult to hear, especially if Mr. Brewery's talking and you're very light spoken. So if he overrides you and I can't hear anything that you say.
Okay.
Yes, but also the microphone is, I assume that's the microphone that's catching it, or the phone, so he's pretty far away from that. I don't know.
Well, yeah, so we have the lapel mics are on one channel, the room mics on another channel, so we can adjust those. My suggestion would be back when we first started talking about doing this, I don't know how much Infomark time it's consuming, but we had not formal solicited, but had looked at some of the different transcription services that were out there, and our hesitation was they didn't give the extra value that you do of highlighting the motions and things like that. Maybe column A, column B approach where they do the bulk work of getting all the audio into text, and then you can do your window dressing of highlighting the motions and the important stuff.
So I tried that,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Trying to see what was the cleanest way to do it.
Mhm.
And there is no nearly verbatim, right? That's something this board requests. It's either verbatim
Or it's
or
not.
it's summary.
Right.
If you want verbatim, you get all of that stuff in, which is fine. And I can go back and go through and clean it up. Your chairman reviews it. I know Mrs. Castle reviews it. But it still takes me 16 hours to go in and review that and try and clean it up, take out the uhs and the I's and the double sentences. And it wasn't Joe talking, it was Sally. And so it is, but it'll help if everybody just says who they are, and like right now, it's very calm. These should be very easy minutes.
That we don't talk over one another.
Correct. That's all. Other than that, it'll go a lot quicker and we can get it knocked out. And they'll be a little more accurate than what they currently have of trying to go in. So that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going on to new business, consideration of resolution 2022-03, our general election qualifying period.
Yes, so that is basically allowing them to run the election. It also tells you what seats are up, which I believe it's 2 seats.
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Yes. So that's all that is. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Tim is also here. He can answer them as well, but it's pretty standard.
Move to approve resolution 2022-03.
Second.
Motion by Berube, second by Castle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, hearing none, passes unanimously. Consideration of resolution 2022-04, designating treasurer and assistant treasurer.
Yes, again, that's housekeeping. Your assistant treasurer, your treasurer never changes. It's Stephen Bloom, head of finance. Assistant treasurer Tremaine retired and left. So naming myself as assistant treasurer in case paperwork or something has to be signed, but that's about it.
Move to approve 2022-04.
Lead second.
I have a motion by Berube, a second by Supervisor Leet, to approve resolution 2022-04. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, passes unanimously. Okay, the next item in their new business is the Buck Lake Committee report. So we had a Buck Lake Committee meeting on March 17th. Before that meeting, I went out, I spoke with Brad. He had not seen anybody treating. I did a complete review of the lake. There are hyacinth banks forming as well as some problem Cuban rush. It appeared that no treatment whatsoever had taken place. They had not even treated their canal over there. When we went into the meeting, I basically called biotech on it. They did finally admit that they had not done any treatment. So the decision, it was that the treatment would start immediately. They scheduled it for March 30th. I'll be going out this weekend to determine if in fact that occurred. We did put a pause, requested people not to be on the lake because it was supposed to be a pretty heavy initial treatment. They will now be doing treatments monthly, and everybody was in agreement that they would notify the Harmony CDD well in advance so that we could hold boat reservations on those dates the treatment occurs. Again, we are not paying a 50% cost share at this time. 100% is being picked up by Harmony West to recognize our payment in the past. They did ask us to consider a cost share for fiscal year 2023. Biotech will hold its fee of $1,200 per month when treated. Hold that price steady. So our obligation would be $600 per month treated. And also ask for approval by this board of the cost share of a not to exceed of $3,300 for what's called general project coordination. And what that would entail is if we needed biotech to come to one of our meetings or Harmony West needed them, that type of support and any other research or advice that was entailed, then that could be dealt with under those funds. And again, it's a not to exceed. So our share of that would be $1,750. Did I do the math right?
$1,650.
$1,650.
What's
What's it for?
this sounds like gobbledygook from biotech to collect some extra money here.
Again, it's if we wanted to call biotech into one of our board meetings to give us a report to our full board separately from the committee, It's for their attendance of our committee meetings to report on what they're doing and how it's going, whether there are more invasive species that need to be treated, and an update on the lake. So that's their project coordination, and then the monthly fee for their treatment.
I trust you fully, Madam Chairwoman, that you will keep them under control. I don't have any need to add more stuff to our agenda, and I think you caught them already, and I don't think we need to spend any money having them come here and say, yeah, we didn't treat the lake last month, but we're gonna get right on it next month, and we'll let you know.
Well, I am barking at their heels, so I understand completely what you have said about their past issues. I would ask that we approve these two. Again, we have paid a cost share for the development of the plan and for general project coordination for work that's been done to date. We have not exceeded the amounts that they've requested. So at this point in time, if the board would consider approving these two amounts for our next fiscal year, so we can include them in their budget.
I move to approve the $600 per month of treatment provided treatment actually happens.
I'll second that one.
600 a month in treatments.
That's for our 50% cost share.
Provided the treatments actually happen.
You're on a good roll. Go ahead.
Well,
Oh, wait a minute, we gotta
somebody
finish. Oh, second.
seconded.
I seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion by Supervisor Castle, a second by Supervisor Berube to approve $600 per month for each month that the lake is actually treated. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes.
Well, do we get a report on this treatment?
That would be.
That would be under general project coordination.
We have to pay extra for that.
So
No,
do
no,
I
no.
hear
No, no,
any motion on the NTE?
I can see Carol where she's going with this. Go ahead, bring it on.
I'm not saying a word.
I move to decline the $3,300 project management consulting, whatever you called it.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion and a second to decline approval of the NTE of 3,300 for general project coordination by biotech. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes.
Was that motion made by Steve, second by?
Yes. We went back and
Thank you.
forth.
I am sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm getting tired.
Madam Chair, may I ask a quick question?
Certain.
On the treatments, they don't provide a post-treatment report letting you know what was treated?
They never have.
I don't,
She's
they
asked for
haven't,
it numerous times.
they have not treated anything yet, so I cannot answer that question.
Okay, that was what I kind of mouthed over because you could, that's why Mr. Berube, Treasurer Berube asked that question. Because in order to know when they treat, they need to provide a
Right.
post-action report.
Maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't.
All right, what,
Moving on.
they are required to advise you all, field services, of when they are going to treat, so you can keep an eye on them and make sure they treat. How's that?
Supervisor Council, just the idea that a vendor would charge us extra to report what they've done and to answer any questions is, I'll just say outrageous.
Supervisor Berube, Supervisor Castle and myself have had long years of experience with this
Let's
particular
not.
vendor.
I appreciate that.
And we
but
remember.
Let's not. It could get us. Next item on the agenda. So I will take this information back and
I left one thing off my report, which is Angel. I left something off my report that is going to, you guys are gonna need to take into consideration going into the budget. And that's your OUC, the lights. So I've gone through and I have them all with me if somebody wants some light reading. Going back
I get
to
it.
whenever, and they all start at different dates. So basically, all of the contracts are the same. You do have a payout at the end of each one, like the one I'm looking at, for example, the payout was November 1st of 2017 And then following payment, and all of them have the same language, following payment of the above price by the customer, that's at the end of your
20 years.
whatever it is. 20-year lease. This one started April 28th of 2005. It ended November 1st of 2017. Harmony
Because we paid it off.
$47,035.20. That was your option to do that, but regardless whether you buy it out or you continue to pay that capital investment portion, you are still obligated, obviously, for the monthly utility bill and maintenance costs.
Okay.
Okay.
But
Mhm.
this is Teresa Kramer. However, at the end of the 20-year contract, which will be 2020, whatever, does it specify what happens? Do we just renegotiate with them for continuing maintenance, or I understand some communities have in their agreements, but ours is silent too, that we pay $1 to buy it out and then we're responsible for maintenance? How is that? We just don't know right now. Is that what I understand?
If you look at our monthly bill, the maintenance cost is built into that monthly bill.
That's correct, but
At the end
isn't
of
that a maintenance, but this agreement says they're gonna maintain them for 20 years. It doesn't say what they're gonna do after the 20 years.
It doesn't. Agreement, but will be you, the customer. Upon the portion of this agreement will only be obligated to, this is if you buy out, but it's the same as if you continue down and renew the lease. You will be obligated to pay the monthly utility bills, including maintenance cost. So what I'm doing, or what an admin at the office is doing, printed all these out, just take them, put them in a spreadsheet for me, and the language of each individual one. You have some that have already come off, and you have some that are coming up. So I'm gonna break everything out and put the language in there, exactly what it is.
At the time of this buyout, that question came up. And the answer then, though it's not clear, was as long as you continue to pay that monthly bill and the maintenance line that's in it, they will take care of it. If you're asking, are we ever going to own it? No.
No, that's so, no, my question here goes in, I think in the contract, it said that the maintenance fee would never increase by more than 3% a year, but at the end of the 20-year period, we don't have an agreement with them anymore, so they could increase it. They're not limited to that 3% increase.
Customer agreed to pay OUC on a monthly basis throughout the term of the agreement for installation and maintenance of the lighting equipment and for all electric energy used for the operation of the lighting equipment on customer's property as specifically described in the agreement. And there's not anything that comes out and states exactly that, which I'm gonna call and get one for each one of these.
There is a 3%.
There is.
Yeah, and I
somewhere
haven't
seen it
in one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, I read it. in
Which one did you see? it
One
in?
of the two, you put it in.
Oh, in the agenda?
Mhm. So that limits, narrows it down. So anyway, if you just take a look at that and
Yep.
try and figure out. My understanding is that OUC is just as confused by these agreements as we are.
It's in Exhibit A. In any 1 year, the rates for maintenance shall not change by more than 3% over the prior year's rate. Capital investment portion of the monthly lighting service charge shall remain fixed for the term of this agreement.
Right.
The capital investment portion is now gone
Okay.
because we paid it off. So the 3% lasts as long as the agreement does.
Now, one of the problems is, and Dan, did you get that picture of the light post?
Yep.
We got some issues.
We're still, yeah, well,
No, we got some issues.
yeah, we're still paying to have that kind of stuff fixed.
Okay, but
Now, wait a minute. Supervisor Castle. So we're paying a maintenance fee, we're leasing these lights. You're saying we are paying extra to have that fixed?
We're not paying the lease anymore. Those are done. But we continue to pay a
The
monthly
maintenance charge,
utility and maintenance fee is part of our monthly bill.
right.
So if that
But
lighting
we're
pole gets
still-
knocked over, it's theirs.
But we're still leasing. I mean, we pay the capital expense.
Yes,
But the maintenance fee is a fee because we don't own the lights, we're leasing them, even though we're not paying for the lease at this point in time. We're paying the maintenance charge. So are you saying they're charging us extra?
no, well, yeah, they're charging us extra to fix broken stuff. If that pole gets knocked over, they replace it.
If it gets knocked over, and that's the difference. They're not gonna come out and fix that unless it's
Safety.
right. So what happens in most districts is, yeah, your maintenance, they tell you, but it's only if it gets knocked over, the bulbs out, they'll come and replace
The arm
that.
breaks.
That kind of stuff, depending on the aesthetics that the community expects. That's where some districts take on that maintenance cost of these, because they're not gonna come out and fix that.
So I can't really see that very well. It's
The bottom is cracked.
Okay, so it's just the bottom.
The
part.
base.
Okay, just the
There are a
base.
number of them like this on Schoolhouse.
Yes.
And Vincent started his inspection today of the light poles to see exactly what's out there, what's damaged.
I believe the problem
to
there
the
is
extent.
that base is not separate from the pole itself. That's molded to the whole pole. They got to replace the whole pole.
Okay, so you're
got
gonna
it,
do
got
that.
it.
So we're gonna go on, no actions required at this point.
Right.
Sorry, Supervisor Castle, what is it you're gonna do? I'm just taking notes.
I'm gonna take all of these agreements that I have, everything that you guys have from inception, and I'm gonna put it together and see exactly what the maintenance is, what it's covered, where you are in the lease, how much is left, if there's a buyout, all of that, and I'll have it on a spreadsheet for you, so you can just look at it and kind of see where you are.
Buyouts have been completed.
What did you say?
Buyouts have been completed. There are no more buyouts.
There were what?
Buyouts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you said if there's any
I
buyouts.
said bios.
No buyouts.
Okay,
Well, that's a buyout. That's a movie.
all right. Moving on, we have these parcels B1 and U2. I wanted to discuss possible uses and or regulation of these. This is the place that we discussed that will be cutting through the apartments. I spoke with Rosemary. She indicated that she's part of the group that's purchasing these properties. She indicated that they have two different plans, one that would use B1 and the other that doesn't. So she may bring something in the future to us. But now that we have ownership responsibilities that have been clarified, that's an area where there are semi trucks parking overnight. So we do have a tow company. We can get signage to sign that area as a no parking zone if the board should so choose.
Yes. Treat it like every other.
Okay, do you want to put that into a motion?
I will move to approve that we sign the I will move that we establish a towing zone on parcel U2,
B1 and U2.
B1 and U2, under the same parameters we're using at other CDD facilities regarding towing.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I missed it, sorry. Aye.
Unanimously passes. The other thing, it would not hurt for us to go ahead and put those areas to a beneficial use for our community. We have lost the farmer's market, which took up a lot of the grocery store parking lot and the area in front of the marketplace. They are putting on another farmer's market, but they may need additional area. since B1 in the past and through to U2 have been stabilized and were roads, and they are still stabilized. I'd like us to think about possible uses such as a farmer's market along that stretch. Or I would put it before the board and ask you all to consider what type of uses we might put that property to. I don't have to go through it or discuss it today, but over the next month or so, think about it so we can put it to a positive use. Otherwise, we may lose some ownership. Great. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, and the next item, discussion of cost to develop the RV storage lot. We may need to continue this to another meeting based on the late hour. But again, it's getting very expensive when you consider the cost of the road, the cost of fencing, and we will have to do further markings and improvements and engineering to lay out the storage area. I just want people to think about it. Our previous revenues from 2008 to the current day have been approximately $80,000. The potential max annual revenue at the current rates that we charge, there was a plan laid out, which was very optimistic and had a huge number of lots, which thought it would be about $81,000 annual. Being an RVer, I can't see how that's really going to work. We're going to probably have to half the number of spaces that were drawn on that. So realistically, maybe 50,000 a year. Currently, we're bringing in 26,000 a year from that lot. So if you all will think about that, think about the benefit to the community versus the cost. Might we look towards other alternatives? Old business, parcels not addressed, but we have now got that.
So Gopher and Tortoise Day.
And we have, yes, a resolution before the board.
Mrs. Supervisor Castle asked for the board to take into consideration to establish a resolution for Gopher and Tortoise Day. April
Gopher
6th.
Tortoise.
Gopher Tortoise, sorry, and that's April 16th, I think. 10th. Gosh, I am wrong.
It's
across the
late.
board.
Okay, April 10th is Gopher Tortoise Day. We do have Gopher Tortoise preservation areas here in Harmony. Supervisor Castle, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would like to just say that this is just something to increase knowledge about gopher tortoises, which are I believe, threatened species at this point. And we actually had some paving over of gopher tortoise burrows in the estates when they were developing the estates, which we can find out about later on. We do have a gopher tortoise preserve here. We are an environmentally oriented community. There are certain organizations that are trying to create more visibility for the gopher tortoise, more knowledge about it, more efforts for preservation, and this is one of the ways we can do that. The Nature and Animal Committee has talked about trying to do something to commemorate Gopher Tortoise Day, and so I thought I would bring it to the board for a vote.
Make a motion.
I move to approve of Gopher Tortoise Day in the Harmony
April.
CBD for April 10th of each year.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. At this time, and if there's no other business to come before the board, I would entertain a motion. to adjourn. Oh, what did I forget? I'm sorry.
Supervisor requests.
I'm sorry, supervisors.
Lead. Just briefly, speaking of resolutions, I know there'd been some discussion, getting everything updated on the website. I know I don't know if it's just the email is still updating. I'm not able to find our previous discussions. So if I could just get a
Sure.
listing of that. Another thing, I know there had been an issue with one of the signs around the community being damaged. I believe the signs are on CDD property. They were put up by the developer and they all say harmonyfl.com and they have all the signs in the different neighborhoods. That's a website that is no longer being maintained by the developer. I don't know if we,
Property, you should be able to take them down. If the board authorizes staff to take them down, we can get them taken.
okay, well, and just for consideration, I mean, right now it's, yes, they're put up by the developer, so they were, selling, here's these new developments going in and everything. Do we see, fine, we can just take them down. They don't, they're kind of, some of them are dilapidated. They, aren't.
I have a quick
You have a thought?
question, Supervisor Kramer. Are those the nice ones that are bounded on both sides by metal
The black
poles?
poles,
And
Nice ones, yeah. I mean, they're showing some age. Some of them are, getting sun faded, but yes, there'll be points in different neighborhoods and they'll have this, non-functional website on there. I
The
don't know.
structure of the sign is fine. The decal
Right.
decal.
Yeah.
is a
I-
mess.
I would suggest that we come up with other language to go on them and update them for,
Point them to our facilities.
yes.
Just bring them up for
Dog park,
consideration.
cat
Right.
lake, buck lake.
Like this one.
Supervisor Castle, we would need to talk to the developer to find out who the vendor is to get get replacements.
A1 signs.
So table up or put it on the next month's agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep. That's all.
So that'll be.
That
on
would be
April's
good.
agenda.
Those were done by Starwood though.
okay, so we can go ahead and get that done.
Sure. Done, Dan?
Nothing else.
So Ruby, I would request that, looking around the room, nobody's wearing a mask and we don't social distance, yet we still have a policy printed on the front of every meeting agenda that we have a mask requirement and social distancing will be enforced. We've never enforced either. Why have a policy that you're not gonna do anything with?
Are you talking about the one on the agenda?
Yeah.
So that was gonna be another thing to put on next month's. We're taking it off, all of our current agendas and COVID policies and all of that off of everything that we're doing. So that's a board decision, obviously. Every district is either authorizing us to do that or not.
I move that we remove that policy language from the agenda.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Can I amend it?
You can offer an amendment. and we can see
Offer
if
an
you'll
amendment
accept it.
that we remove the language from the agenda for the time being and reserve the right to put it back on should the situation with case numbers increase significantly.
Seconded.
All right, we're gonna change this. Motion by Carol Castle, second by Steve Berube, to take the information off of the, and right to reserve to reinstitute should COVID flare back up. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
That was item one. Item number two, I'd like to suggest that we move these meetings from here to a more spacious venue, perhaps the meeting room at the tavern or some other place. I think there's friendly ownership there. And this is all right, but it's not really a very amenable. It's not a professional meeting. Just my view.
After we turn into the county, we'll kick it down anyways.
My 2 cents worth, I think, you can't beat the price here. It's free. They're very amenable and very convenient. They provide us free internet. I could not support a move that would cost us.
The way we spend money, a meeting is almost nothing. But that's just
But
my
why
view.
add to this?
Well, Supervisor Council, maybe we could find out whether they would allow us to meet there without cost or at a low cost. Or
The tavern you're asking?
well, the building, like the ballroom or, some
Yeah,
meeting
without
room.
provisos.
Not the small meeting room in the back of the tavern, because that's
Smaller than this,
room.
yeah.
But either the ballroom or some.
Half of the
other
ballroom.
space. Yeah.
They can cut
I
it. in
can
half.
absolutely reach out.
All right. Any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion. to
Ruby
adjourn.
makes the motion to
Lead
adjourn.
seconds.
All right, Peruvian leads, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Ask if
for
anybody's
adjournment.
opposed. Go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all your help. We've got some serious issues to deal with.
All right.
Those are the only two signatures.